She was teaching at the conference.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I'll pass that on then. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista's regular meeting, Tuesday, December 22nd, 2022 at 6 p.m. Can I please have a pledge of allegiance? Vice Mayor Flores, will you start us? Thank you very much both for the leading us and serving. Yours does not. You have no battery. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Councilmember Edge?
Here.
Vice Mayor Flores? See you there. We need to hear your voice, Vice Mayor.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Friels?
Here.
Councilmember Freeman?
Here.
Mayor Jordan?
Here.
All members present. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I would like to call for a moment of silence, please. For Anne LaForge, mom of our former city manager, longtime resident of San Juan Bautista. Thank you very much. And best spades partner one could have. A couple of changes in the agenda, if I may. 2 is ceremonial items and swearing in council. There is actually a couple of action items. 2.5A will be the selection of the mayor, and 2.5B will 2.5B will be the selection of the mayor pro tem for 1 year. Also at the very bottom, under action items, under 6A, we will be pulling up 7F, the ordinance for selection of planning commissioners, requested by Councilmember Freeman. We really can't have an action item without that discussion item first. You don't have to worry about that.
Mayor, that would remain a discussion item, is that correct?
That is a discussion item, yes. Thank you. Okay, 2 ceremonial items, swearing in of council. Adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista declaring the results of the general municipal election held on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. Do we have any comments from the council? Councilmember Friels?
No.
Thank you. Councilmember Freeman?
No.
Thank you. Councilmember Edge? Thank you very much. Vice Mayor Flores?
None, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions, comments, or concerns from Zoom land?
Thank you for attending tonight. For those who are in attendance, if you'd like to speak on this matter, please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. That when you raise your hand, you'll be brought into the meeting and your 3-minute time will start to speak on this matter. And at this time, we have no hands raised.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, we have a hand raised. We had a little delay. David Maderos, would you still like to speak on this matter? It was on and now it's off, and so, nope.
Thank
No
you
hands
very much.
Mhm.
Thank you. Anybody in chambers wish to comment on the elections? Having no comment, I will call for a motion. May I have a motion to adopt the resolution of the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista? Thank you. Vice Mayor Flores and Councilmember Edge with a second. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes, Councilmember Edge,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Flores,
Yes.
Councilmember Friels,
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Mayor Jordan.
Yes,
Motion passes unanimously.
thank you very much. At this point, I would like to now have the presentation of the plaques honoring the retiring city council members, Councilmember Mary Edge and Vice Mayor Cesar Flores. Also retiring Planning Commissioner Jackie Morris Lopez and retiring City Treasurer Michelle Sabathia.
Thank you, Mayor. Our first is for Councilmember Mary Edge. And it recognizes Councilmember Edge's contributions beginning in December 18th, 2018 to tonight as mayor, from December 17th, 2019 to December 15th, 2020 through the COVID year. And that was pretty incredible, Councilmember, and as vice mayor, 12/18 to 2018 through 12/2019, with sincere gratitude and appreciation for your dedicated service from the citizens of San Juan Bautista. Here you are. You're welcome. It's okay, there you go. Big picture, big picture.
Do you want to say something now? You want to do that? Sorry, a little informal here. Yes, absolutely.
Can everybody hear me? I wrote this down because I didn't want to leave anybody out. But I would like to thank all the constituents who trusted in me to sit on the city council these last 4 years. It's been a pleasure and an honor to serve on the city council of our city of San Juan Bautista. At times, we had to make difficult decisions, and we made decisions focused on the best interest of our community. I commend Jackie Morris Lopez and EJ Sabathia for stepping up to the table to take the role of city council members, and Mayor Leslie Jordan for taking another 4 years. Congratulations to all of you. I know you'll do your very best. Thank you to our city manager, Don Reynolds, who has kept operations and planning efforts ongoing with the help of his assistant, Brian Funk. To maintain procedures within the city, working with staff on everyday tasks and advising the city council on many decisions, identifying direction and guiding the city council to be able to make sound decisions, especially our water and sewer issues. And thank you to staff, Trish Pates, Carmen Lujan, Veronica Munoz for their commitment and hard work at City Hall. Thank you to Nick Bryan, Supervisor of Public Works and Maintenance, Armando Vegas, Carlos Figueroa, Paul Champion, Memo Garza, Elliot Gill, and Francisco Rincon, who have always been there to help at whatever capacity. And they continue to help us with setting up the food distribution that started back when COVID hit in May of 2020. And I just want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next on the list is Cesar Flores, Councilmember Flores. Councilmember Flores, served from 12/18/2018 to tonight, 12/20/2022, was mayor when I came on board, welcomed me, thank you. Cesar, December 18th, 2018 to 12/17/2019. Vice mayor, currently from 12/15/20 to 12/20/22. With sincere gratitude and appreciation for your dedicated service to the citizens of San Juan Bautista.
Thank you all. I don't have a prepared speech. But I agree with everything that Mary says. You got all the names and everything. And I don't. However, I do feel honored to have been able to serve our little village here for the last 4 years. And the city staff was always there whenever I needed anything, or, you know, I try to be the same way. And my whole thing is that we are a team. This is a small community, and we need to work as a team, not against each other, but with each other, and come up with solutions, because we can't find all the solutions, you know, for the problems that come up. If you have a problem, bring it up, but think of a solution. And that's what we need. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Michelle.
And we have one more for Jackie Morris Lopez, with sincere gratitude and appreciation for serving on our Historic Resources Board and Planning Commission from January 2021 to December 2022. Jackie, we virtually provide this to you.
Hello.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you. And we'll get it to you as soon as you're better. So thank you for your dedication to our planning commission. And is there anything you'd like to say? Is there anything
Yes,
you'd like-
yes, thank you, Dawn, and thank you, everybody. It's been a great honor to be a planning commissioner. As short as it was, but I was ready to stay there for 2 more years. And I wish I could have done more. It was a learning experience. I enjoyed my time there. And congratulations to the outgoing council members, Mary Edge and Cesar, and for your hard work and your dedication to the community. You both have brought community spirit to the little village, like Cesar said. And I look forward to sitting on the council. And you two have big shoes to fill. I'm a size 5. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We also have a recognition by the state legislator of council members Flores and Edge. Vanessa and Andres from the senators and assemblymen's offices. Do you have a green light?
Oh, we are unable to hear in Zoom.
The back, is it turned on in the back?
No sound.
No? Is this working? You can't hear it at all. This one works.
Oh, there we go. Thank you.
Good evening, Vanessa Gonzalez on behalf of Senator Ana Caballero. So we'll go ahead, and I have my colleague Andres Rodriguez with Assembly Member Robert Rivas. So we wanted to be here on behalf of both Senator and Assembly Member to first recognize Council Member Mary Edge. And so Council Member Mary Edge, I'll read a few whereas to not be short of what she's done for the community. So Mary Edge spearheaded the efforts to open the senior center, which came from discussions with the community regarding the lack of services for seniors. This will be, along with Jóvenes Antaño, will be a new center called the Selman Senior Center. I wanted to recognize you for that. Whereas Mary lent her efforts to the Feeding the Frontline Health Without Borders, which was a drive-through food distribution event to support local Latinx families and agriculture industry workers. Whereas throughout her term on the city council, Mary Edge worked diligently to address the concerns and needs of the residents of the area to improve the quality of life for future generations. And as a result of the invaluable contributions she has made to the people of San Juan Bautista, she has made a lasting impression on the individuals with whom she has been associated. So on behalf of Senator Ana Caballero and Assembly Member Rivas, congratulations on your term, and thank you for all that you've done. Join us up here.
Great. Hello, everyone. Community of San Juan Bautista. My name is Andres, representing Assembly Member Rivas, as Vanessa mentioned. Last but not least, Cesar Flores, a dear friend in the community, a leader, mentor. And I just wanted to read a couple whereases from your resolution here. Whereas the Honorable Cesar Flores is completing his duties on the San Juan Bautista City Council following 4 years of dedicated and responsible service. And it is appropriate at this time to highlight many achievements and provide this recognition of his public accomplishments. Sworn in as a San Juan Bautista City Council member on December 8, 2018. Cesar Flores was appointed mayor in December 2018, served until December 2019 before beginning his current service as mayor pro tem in December 2020. And in the course of his tenure, he has earned a reputation as a very deeply committed individual to a variety of programs and organizations based on meeting the changing needs of the community. And also just wanted to, highlight here, whereas originally from Crystal City, Texas, Cesar attended Abilene High School and focused on Chicano studies at California State University, Fullerton, the Titans, right? Where he earned his Bachelor of Arts degree in Ethnic Studies in 1976 and founded the award-winning theater troupe Espíritu de Aztlán, a street theater troupe modeled after the world-famous Teatro Campesino Company, and an honorable veteran of the United States Armed Forces. He served in the U.S. Air Force during the Vietnam War era. Again, thank you for your service. So without further ado, congratulations. Thank you so much, Cesar, for everything.
I would like to acknowledge that I know this young man here.
Thank you very much. If we could just get a picture with this council.
All right, take the cameras out. Sure. You want-
Okay.
Vicky's got to see. I forgot to thank Colin for getting me involved. Well,
Thank
way
you.
back when he was running the freelance with a citizens advisory committee, and I was on that. And we had pros and we had cons, but we always managed to get things done. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Cesar. I appreciate all you have done for the city of San Juan Bautista. It has been an absolute pleasure serving on the council with you. With that. Yeah, I'm sorry to say.
See you later, alligator. See you later, alligator.
Have a swell
you,
evening.
thank you.
First glass of wine is on me at Daisy's. Oh, yay.
John, for putting up with me. It's always been to the best of the time. Mr. Young Man Fields. A pleasure. And we're not going anywhere. We still live here. We're homeowners.
Oh, that means you're gonna be on the other side of the dais now, huh? At the podium. Yikes.
Don't let it surprise you.
See you. Out with the old and with the new. I would like to now welcome newly elected city council members EJ Sabathia and Jackie Morris Lopez. No, come on up. Come on down. Also, I would like to welcome our County Supervisor Colin Kosmicki to swear everybody in.
All right. So I'll have you, when we get into this, I'll have you raise your right hand, of course, and after I say I'll want to repeat your name, and then I'll do a few words at a time and work our way through the oath of office, if that works for you. And, Jackie, you heard that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, great. So please raise your right hand. I
I, Jackie Morris Lopez,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will defend and support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
to the Constitution of the United States and to the Constitution of the State of California.
that I take this obligation freely
We take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations and best wishes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Supervisor Kosmicki. See ya. Did he leave already? Well done. Okay, at this time, 2.5A, selection of a mayor for a one-year term. At this time, I will call for nominations for mayor for the city of San Juan Bautista. Please refrain from renominating someone who has already been nominated. When called upon, if someone has nominated the person you wish to nominate, you do not have to, you do not have a second choice pass. Council Member Friels, do you wish to nominate anybody?
Yes, I'd like to nominate John Freeman for mayor.
Thank you very much. Council Member Freeman, do you wish to nominate anyone?
No.
Thank you. Council Member Morris Lopez, do you wish to nominate anybody?
Yes, I nominate Leslie Jordan.
Thank you very much. Council Member Sabathia, do you wish to nominate anybody?
I do not.
Thank you very much. And I also pass. Norma, will you please poll the council at this time?
Okay, so at this time, I'm going to call each person, each member of the council. And if you can please state which member that has been nominated, Councilmember Freeman or Councilmember Jordan. Now, sitting mayor, but Councilmember Jordan, let me know which one you vote for. The person who receives the most votes will be the sitting mayor. Councilmember Friels? Your vote?
For John Freeman.
Freeman, thank you. Councilmember Freeman, your vote?
I vote for John Freeman.
Thank you. Councilmember Morris Lopez, your vote?
I vote for Leslie Jordan.
Thank you. Councilmember Sabathia, your vote?
I vote for Leslie Jordan.
Thank you. And Councilmember Jordan, your vote?
I vote for Leslie Jordan.
Thank you. And so the mayor who has been elected amongst the membership tonight, the council membership, is Councilmember Jordan.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you all. Now the selection of the mayor pro tem for a one-year term. At this time, I will call for nominations for the mayor pro tem for the city of San Juan Bautista. Please refrain from renominating someone. You have the drill. Councilmember Friels.
John Freeman.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Freeman.
I pass.
Thank you. Councilmember Morris Lopez.
Leslie Jordan.
Leslie Jordan cannot serve as mayor or vice mayor? Is there anyone else?
This is
besides
for mayor pro tem, vice mayor.
Oh,
Mayor Pro
I'm
Tem?
sorry. I'm sorry. I pass.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Sabathia.
I pass.
Wow. Mayor Jordan. I vote for EJ Sabathia. Norma, can I please have a, can you please poll the council?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Jordan. Again, we'll do the vote just as the same as we did last time. I will call out each council member's name, and if you let me know who you are voting for, either Councilmember Freeman or Councilmember Sabathia to become Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Friels?
John Freeman.
Thank you. Councilmember Freeman?
John Freeman.
Thank you. Councilmember Morris Lopez?
EJ Sabathia.
Thank you. Councilmember Sabathia?
I vote for John Freeman.
Thank you. And Mayor Jordan?
EJ Sabathia.
Thank you. So at this time, the one who is elected is now Councilmember Freeman, who is now the Mayor Pro Tem. Freeman.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Okay. Thank you all for attending. Thanks, guys. Sorry, a little commotion here in the chambers.
So as that's happening, Mayor, may I ask a clarifying question?
Go ahead.
I apologize. This entire time I have been saying Vice Mayor. What is the proper title that I should be using for Vice Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Freeman?
By custom, I believe it's vice mayor.
Okay.
That's
Whew,
how I
I've been
understand it
totally
also.
wrong.
Okay, my mistake. I thought we were Mayor Pro Tem a while ago. It's Mayor Pro Tem. In our code, it's Mayor Pro Tem.
Mhm.
We should stick with the code.
Oh,
We'll check the meeting code, Norma.
thank you. I appreciate that. So for this evening, as it states on the agenda, Mayor Pro Tem, would you like me to continue moving forward tonight with that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Public comment. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the council on matters that are not on the agenda. The law does not permit council action or extend discussion of any item not on the agenda except under special circumstances. If council action is requested, the council may place the matter on an agenda. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment in Zoom land?
For those that wish to speak under public comments tonight, if you can please raise your hand by pressing the raise hand button. For those that have dialed in, please press *9. Once you raise your hand, you'll be brought into the meeting. Once you unmute yourself, your 3-minute time will start. Now is the time to raise your hand if you'd like to speak about anything under public comment. We have no hands raised at this time.
Thank you very much. Do we have anybody in chambers who wishes to speak? No one in chambers. Thank you. Consent agenda items. All matters listed under the consent agenda may be enacted by one motion authorizing action indicated for those items so designated. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless requested by a member of the city council, a staff member, or citizen. Does anybody wish to pull anything from the consent agenda? Councilmember Friels,
No, thank you.
Councilmember Vice Mayor, sorry, I'll get this. Mayor Pro Tem Freeman.
No, thank you.
Thank you very
Hold
much.
that for just a short now.
Councilmember Morris Lopez.
Not at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Sabathia.
Not at this time.
Thank you. Does anybody from Zoom land wish to pull an agenda item?
If anyone would like to request an item pulled from the consent agenda, please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. There are no hands raised at this time.
Thank you very much. I would like to pull item C. Minutes from November 15th, 2022. Sorry, I'm all discombobulated today. I'm sorry, does anybody in chambers wish to pull an item?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to just provide a couple of just brief clarifications on the minute. That would be on item C, item D, and item F.
D,
C, D, and F.
C, D, and F. Okay, hang on one second, please. Don, did you want to pull any? City manager?
Well, Bob may ready to say this, but our new members would have to abstain from voting on those.
Unless they read the minutes of the meeting and listened to the meeting, they could vote. Just by the very fact they didn't attend in person wouldn't necessarily preclude them.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That was my only question.
Thanks for that clarification. Anybody in chambers? Did I ask that already? Okay, may I have a motion to adopt A, B, E, G, H, I, J, K, L, M?
So moved.
Thank you very much. May I have a second?
I will second that.
Thank you. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Freeman, seconded by Councilmember Lopez. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Friels,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Freeman,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris Lopez,
Yes,
Councilmember Sabathia,
I'm abstaining.
you're abstaining from all matters on the agenda, or was there one specifically?
C, D, E, and F.
Okay, noted. I'll make note in the minutes that you've abstained from E at this time. And Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
Thank you. So motion passes with unanimous of members present, and a notation will be made that Councilmember Sabathia has abstained from E.
Thank you. I pulled C just for some minor corrections. Councilmember Edge was present in that meeting. And there is also a correction to a reference that Fran Fitzharris resigned, and Deanna was replacing her. Please sit by. On the agenda, or I'm sorry, on the minutes, we have present Councilmember Edge and absent Councilmember Edge. She was present. Item C, it was announced Fran Fitzharris withdrew her resignation, and it's stated that she withdrew her application. And Deanna Snyder was to be appointed in her place. We accepted the application for Deanna Snyder there. Fran Fitzharris withdrew her resignation, and we accepted resignations from Meamber and Curbs. So if we can note that. Attorney Rathi, you pulled.
The only addition I would have is under item 6A, the public hearing regarding the nuisance abatement, or the matter regarding the nuisance abatement.
I can't hear.
I would add that the representative of the property owner, Cynthia Orozco, objected at that time and stated she was not given the opportunity to abate as the city took the lead role. And it is her intent to abate the nuisance and resolve the situation as soon as possible. That's consistent with the resolution that we adopted on the 29th.
Thank you very much. D.
Would you, Mayor, do you want to take a motion on C individually?
Oh, sure, we can do that individually. May I have a motion to approve item C as described?
So moved.
Thank you very much. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. A motion by Mayor Pro Tem Freeman and seconded by Councilmember Friels. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Councilmember Friels,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Freeman,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris Lopez,
Yes,
Councilmember Sabathia,
Yes.
Mayor Jordan.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Minutes approved as amended.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Item D.
I just had a comment similar to the one I just made on item 3B. In item D, which is the minutes of the 5 o'clock meeting on November 15th. Again, I would add that the property owners representative objected and stated that there was a lack of ability to abate the nuisance, and the property owner's intent was to abate the nuisance conditions. And she had engaged consultants to do that, which we've done in a 4 to 12 week timeline. And she asked at that time that the council not declare the property to be a nuisance. again, that's consistent with the resolution. subject to-
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve as stated?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Freeman, seconded by Councilmember Friels. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Friels,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Freeman,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris Lopez,
Yes,
Councilmember Sabathia,
Yes.
Mayor Jordan.
Yes,
Motion passes unanimously.
thank you. E. No, I'm sorry, you said F.
The only comment I have on F is item 3B, spelling of the 451 San Juan Hollister Road. Representative attorney, I need to correct that spelling. Patane rather than an I at the end.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to approve as stated?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Freeman and seconded by Councilmember Friels. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Friels,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Freeman,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris Lopez,
yes,
Councilmember Sabathia,
I have a battery.
Yes.
thank you. Mayor Jordan.
Yes,
Motion passes unanimously.
thank you very much. Presentations, proclamations, informational items and reports. Ralph M. Brown Act introduction refresher, City Attorney Bob Raffy.
Thank you, Mayor. I would mention as an introductory informational item that the correct reference would be to Mayor Pro Tempore, and that's from the Municipal Code, Section 2-1-205. The Vice Mayor has gotten a promotion already to title to the Latin name.
So noted, it is Mayor Pro Tem.
That is correct. I think Don has a few slides. Just by way of introduction, I'll try to keep the presentation. I know most of you, probably all of you, are familiar with the Brown Act in some way. So this is intended to be just an introduction and a refresher. We're not going to go too deep, but if you have questions, I'll certainly be glad to address them as we go through. And the slides are projected. I will try to refrain and control myself from reading what's on the slide. I think everybody can do that. I'll have some comments on some of the various slides. Yeah, I don't think they're in the packet, Don. Can I send them to you? Okay. No, I do. Over there, and I'll put on my email to Don. Do not use reply to all to avoid the violation of. We'll get to that. I'll start out with the first slide. We can catch up once the slides are up there. So I will read off this slide because you can't see it. The purpose of the legislative body section. There we go. Refer to the closed section.
We have no sound on Zoom of Bob.
Yeah, you can't hear me at all?
Oh, there you go. Yes, there we go.
Oh, okay,
You have to talk directly into the
I
microphone.
do
please.
indeed. I'm practically ingesting the microphone. Okay, so that's the first slide regarding the meetings of a legislative body. The members of the legislative body, newly elected members, after their election and before their investiture, are subject to the Brown Act. And commissions and committees, if created by charter, ordinance, or formal action of the body, may be permanent or temporary committees, and they are maybe decision-making or advisory. If they are created by charter, ordinance, or formal action, which can be a resolution or a motion, then those bodies are also subject to the Brown Act. An ad hoc committee, and by the way, the Brown Act never uses the term ad hoc, which consists solely, and it's important, solely of less than a quorum of the legislative body, is not a legislative body subject to the Brown Act. And there's a recent, well, it's not too recent, but there's a case that talks about a city that appointed an ad hoc committee to consider a matter that was consisted of 2 members of the city council, less than a quorum of the city council, and 2 members of the planning commission, less than a quorum of the planning commission. And the court found that because the committee was not consisted of solely less than a quorum of the legislative body, there was less than a quorum of another legislative body on that committee, that it was subject to the Brown. So, and a couple of important points to remember in this, which comes up not infrequently, is that these committees must be advisory only. They cannot have any authority delegated by the parent body in order to be exempt from the Brown Act. And they need to have a finite charge with generally a requirement to report back to the city council or the body that created the ad hoc committee, generally within a period of not more than 1 year. And they should not have a meeting schedule that is fixed by the body that created it. So they can set a meeting schedule, but it needs to be set by that ad hoc committee. And like I say, that exemption comes up not infrequently, so we'll probably deal with that along the way here. There is an exception to the exception, which would be a standing committee, i.e. a committee that is composed of less than a quorum. The Brown Act uses both majority and quorum. The 2 are used sort of interchangeably in the act. There is a distinction that I won't go into on them. Sometimes you can need to have a super majority to pass certain actions. And these standing committees, irrespective of their composition, which have a continuing subject matter jurisdiction or a meeting schedule fixed by the formal action of the body, then they are a legislative body and subject to the Brown Act. The Brown Act spends quite a bit of time on what is a meeting and what meetings are allowed to be attended by a majority of the members. And just basically a meeting is a congregation of a majority of the members of the body at the same time and place to discuss, deliberate, or take action. And that same time, place, and location doesn't need to be in a physical room. It can be out there on the internet now, and also out on the street or at other venues. So it's important to remember too that reports and other writings that are provided to the legislative body are available to the public at the time that they're made available to the members of the legislative body. So, and that includes reports that would be provided at a meeting if someone was here and had something, a report that they provided to all of you. We would need to provide it to the public at the same time or shortly thereafter the meeting. So some things that are not meetings under the Brown Act include attending conferences or similar gatherings, attending meetings of other organizations, community organizations, attending open and notice meetings of other legislative bodies, attending a purely social function, or observing the meeting of one of the body's standing committee. And it's important to remember that there can be no discussion privately at any of these meetings of matters that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council, which is not everything related to the city. Members of the council, if they're attending these meetings, community meetings, conference, meeting of another body, they can address as part of the agenda, they can speak at those meetings, but it should be just on items that are listed on the agenda or are part of the meeting. There is a little bit of a caveat on the meeting of one of the city council's standing committees or constituent bodies such as the planning commission. If this would be a meeting that was created with 2 members of the council. If another member of the council was to attend that kind of meeting, that person could not speak. They could only observe. And the reason for that is because you have 2 members on a standing committee and you add 1 more member, you've got a meeting of the majority of the body. So that's the reason for that. And in each case here, it's important that the members do not discuss amongst themselves the business within the subject matter jurisdiction of the legislative body. And any of these ceremonial gatherings, meetings of other community organizations, meetings of other legislative bodies. We generally, although it's not required, we generally would suggest that if the council majority attends, that they don't sit together. It just kind of takes away the public perception that members of the council might be talking about council business outside of a notice public meeting. Am I going too fast or too slow?
You're good.
I'm
Keep
good.
it going.
Okay, good. Okay, we'll get into the ever popular topic of serial meetings, which are becoming, with the use of technology, it's easier and easier to create a serial meeting through emails, through social media, through texting, instant messaging, all those various things. But essentially, what a serial meeting and the prohibition against a serial meeting is creating through an intermediary or directly action to discuss, deliberate, again, take action on any matter that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the legislative body. It doesn't require that action be taken. It doesn't require that a collective concurrence, that the Brown Act uses, actually be developed in the exchange. Just having the exchange amongst the majority of the members of the legislative body in a serial meeting is enough to violate the Brown Act. And there's 2 ways, traditional ways that is done, and that would be the daisy chain and the hub and spoke. Daisy chain is where one council member or one member of the body calls another, and then that member calls another and calls another until a majority has been contacted on the same matter. And that's a daisy chain serial meeting. The other way is a hub and spoke, where just as it says, one member in the center of the hub calls a number of successive 1, 2, and 3 until you reach 3. Then you violated the Brown Act for a hub and spoke serial meeting. And these things can be created also through email and chat rooms, technological devices, traditional or the way that we're always cognizant of not violating the Brown Act is cautioning everyone not to use a reply to all when responding to a message involving business of the council. Usually these things start out okay, but they can very quickly and unintentionally involve a violation of the Brown Act. There's a relatively recent change to the Brown Act that addresses social media, and it's really unusual. I mean, a lot of attorneys were kind of surprised when they saw this, but members of a legislative body can communicate on social media regarding a matter within the body's subject matter jurisdiction, but no other member of the body can communicate on that same platform. In other words, And that includes even posting an emoji, posting a response or anything. In this way, two members of the body, less than a majority, could actually violate the Brown Act. And that's only true in the social media sphere. So it's actually more restrictive in social media than it is elsewhere. So the message from all the serial meeting prescription is that you can't be too careful in communicating, whether it's on social media or otherwise. And if it's important enough, then it should be on a meeting agenda, so the public has access to the stuff. One thing that we should point out, sometimes it gets lost in the discussion of all the prohibitions on serial meetings, is that you are allowed to talk to your constituents. That's not a violation of the Brown Act, probably an obligation of the city council members themselves. So there's no prohibition on contacting members of the public. It's important though that serial lobbying is really not allowed if the member of the public is representing the views of another city council member. You need to be careful about a member of the public serving as a conduit for a Brown Act violation. But there's no prohibition on talking to your constituents. There is a caution when you're talking with somebody who may have a project that's coming before the council or been before the council, and that has to do with the fair hearing and due process requirements. That if something comes back to you in a context of a quasi judicial context, where you're actually going to rule on an appeal or something like that, then if you have contacted, even individual contacts with the appellant in that case, that you would need to report them. In other words, they would be considered to be ex parte contacts in a quasi judicial context. But other than that, that's something just to be aware of, especially with people, developers and people like that who have projects either before the city or that you expect to be coming before the city. That you may be involved in ex parte communication. Again, there's no prohibition on ex parte communication. Just in the quasi judicial sense, it just needs to be revealed. Moving on to the notice and agenda requirements for a regular meeting. The city council must establish a schedule for its regular meeting. And I believe there's an item on the agenda to do that tonight. The agenda requirements are that items of business on the agenda need to be listed in general descriptions, usually less than 20 words. And the idea of that is that any person who reads the agenda should be able to, with ease, determine whether they're interested in attending the meeting that night, so that they can understand what the council is going to be talking about, what matter is going to be under consideration. So those agendas for a regular meeting need to be posted 72 hours in advance and also posted on the city's website, describing each item of business that the council is going to continue. Won't go into continued and adjourned meetings. We'll get to those later when they actually come up. There can be no discussion during the meetings of items that are not on the agenda, except very brief responses from the council or staff to public comments that are made at the meeting. Council is allowed to also make reports of its own activities and also to refer matters to staff for subsequent postings on another agenda, future agenda. There are a couple of exceptions to the fact that, or the prohibition on considering matters not on the agenda. And the most frequent one is the one that comes up when immediate action, something has happened after the agenda has already been put out 72 hours before the meeting. And something comes to either staff or the council's attention that's going to require attention before the next regularly scheduled public meeting. And in that case, and it's important to say that that doesn't include just the oversight of staff neglecting to put the matter on the agenda. That's not considered to be requiring immediate action. If the need arose after the agenda was already published, there could be a vote of the council then at that time to put the matter on the agenda for that meeting, and it requires a 2/3 vote of all members of the council. If all members are not present, then it requires a unanimous vote of all members present to add an item to the agenda. But it needs to be done in a formal way. It can't just be done by discussion. So there needs to be an action taken to add the item. The other situation, which doesn't come up thankfully very often, is to address an emergency situation. And the Brown Act is pretty restrictive on what it considers to be an emergency. It's basically what we would consider to be an earthquake, a flood, some sort of disaster. In that case, the council is allowed to add items to the agenda, but it has to be a real emergency disaster type situation. The public is allowed to make comments at a regular meeting. Public comments can be made on any matter within the subject matter jurisdiction of the body. Does not need to be on the item on the agenda. The council must also take public comment on any item that is listed on the agenda at the time the matter is considered by the council. The council has the ability to impose reasonable restrictions. For instance, the use of speaker cards is a reasonable thing to ask for public comments. Also, council can impose a time limit for public comments. Usually, the norm seems to be probably about 3 minutes, but time limits are allowed. One thing that cannot be done is you cannot require a speaker to identify themselves. They can be asked to identify, but they don't need to identify themselves. Special meetings of the council can be conducted. It takes 24 hours notice to do that. The same idea as to the agenda. Everything the council is going to discuss on the agenda needs to be on the special meeting agenda. Public comment can be limited to only those matters on the agenda. We'll just briefly the various exceptions to having the public involved in all meetings of the legislative body, and that pertains to closed sessions. They must be listed on the agenda. The Brown Act also provides descriptions that could be used on the agenda. They're termed safe harbors for these items. And then after the item is heard in closed session, then it's required that there be a report out after the closed session as to any action taken, or if no reportable action is taken under the Brown Act. Brown Act report coming out of closed session, the requirement to make a report is actually pretty limited, surprisingly to me when I first became aware of it. The basic requirement to report out is if the council has approved an agreement with another party that the council's own approval in the closed session has made that agreement final. In other words, it doesn't need another action by the other party to finalize the agreement. Then in that case, a report out is required on that agreement. If an action is to finalize the agreement, in other words, the council has said, yeah, we approve this agreement on these terms and submit it to the other party's signature, then the agreement needs to be reported in response to a request only after the other party has taken the action to finalize the agreement. Generally, closed sessions are only available to the council. They're not available to the planning commission. It's not that they're legally unavailable, it's just generally the subject matter jurisdiction or the subject matter topic that the planning commission, the Florida Resources Board, and other component bodies might be taking don't generally fit within the closed session. And those closed sessions can be allowed for personnel matters. They can be allowed for labor negotiations, for real estate negotiations, and real estate negotiations are the narrowest exception to the Brown Act and the closed session exceptions. It's only really allowed to discuss in closed session price and terms of payment of a real estate negotiation. Whether it's a good deal or a bad deal is really reserved for a public discussion. Sometimes it's pretty constraining in context of real estate negotiation. Also, litigation can be discussed in closed session. Three types of litigation essentially. One where the litigation has already been initiated, existing litigation. Litigation where in the judgment of the legislative body, there is a threat of litigation against the legislative body, or again, in the judgment of the body, whether there is whether the body is considering initiating litigation against someone else. So all those can be discussed in closed session, they're properly listed on the agenda, and the counsel's attorney is present. In the existing litigation or in the litigation context, there has to be an attorney present. That's not necessarily true in the other. Working towards the end here, violations of the Brown Act can be enforced either criminally or civilly. Criminal enforcement of the Brown Act is extremely rare. I'm only aware of one case years ago in Seaside that the district attorney brought a criminal violation against a member of a city council because the problem with enforcing criminally is that there has to be a meeting where the intent was to deprive the public of information that would be required under the Brown Act, and the intent element is very difficult to prove in that context. So, but civil penalties can be brought by the district attorney. And usually the usual way a Brown Act violation is addressed is that somebody will bring a demand letter to cure if they think the body has done something that violates the Brown Act. Then a demand can be brought to cure, and the cure could be done within 30 days. And the cure is generally just to do it over in accordance with Brown, either list it correctly on the agenda, put it on the agenda if it wasn't. So the cure is usually not too onerous, with the one caveat that the danger is that the city could miss a critical deadline by having to go back and cure it. I believe the cure could be done at a special meeting though as well. It doesn't have to be done immediately. Successful litigants in the civil context also get their attorney's fees generally. City would almost never get it in that context, or many other contexts. There are some civil penalties for other violations of not so much the Brown Act, but other the confidentiality of information that's provided in closed session. It can be a breach in litigation matters. It would be a breach of the attorney-client privilege, which in the context of that privilege, it's the council that holds the attorney-client privilege as a body, not individual, but as a body. So the only way that the information could be released is if the entire council decides to release that information. And if employees who are attending closed session reveal information from those closed sessions, then discipline can be imposed under the personnel system. As far as attending closed sessions, those people who have a need to know or a need to be involved in the closed session are allowed to attend. It can be a member of staff, it can be a consultant, either one of those people, obviously an attorney or an outside attorney we've employed for the specific purpose. All those people are allowed to attend closed session as long as they have a need to be in the closed. There is a new Brown Act provision that's coming up in going to be effective in 2024, and that's going to allow the council or the legislative body to continue to hold hybrid meetings without compliance with certain procedures in two cases. And that would be if one or more of the members of the body have a just cause for not attending in person, or they have an emergency situation. And there are certain things that qualify as just cause, childcare emergency, well, not emergency, but the need for childcare, the need for medical care, those types of things can justify attending remotely through a hybrid. There's a limit on the times that a member can use the just cause rationale not to attend in person, and that's 2 times per year. In all situations under this new law that's going to be effective, there must be a quorum of the body in place at a physical location here in the city. Under the emergency situation, emergency is more for medical type things, although there's no requirement that the council person reveal any medical information. Those meetings under emergencies need to be set up with a little more time in order to have the connectivity and to ensure that the meetings being held in accordance with the Brown Act. There is a limit on emergencies too, and that would be no more than for 3 months in a row. In other words, the emergency could not go more than 3 months or 20% of the meetings in a calendar year. The just cause reason rationale for not attending a meeting can actually be done very quickly. It can be done on the day of the meeting, right before the meeting. Emergency takes a little bit more. So for any of the hybrid meetings that we'll be conducting, and we're conducting them now under AB 361, which was a legislation from the state that basically codified the requirements for conducting meetings during COVID-19. That legislation will remain until 2013. However, the COVID emergency is expected to end on February 28th. And AB 361, under which we're holding our meeting now, and we adopted a resolution on the consent agenda for this meeting, which will cover any meeting for the next 30 days. That can only be done in response to an emergency declared by the governor, not just a local emergency. I think I've covered all that. That's everything I have on the Brown Act. I think it was probably pretty quick, and I just tried to touch the highlights of it. As you know, as we get deeper into these things, there can be questions. I'm still learning about the Brown Act myself.
Thank you very
If I have
much.
questions, I'll try to address them, and if you want to send me emails anytime, I'll be glad to address those questions about the Brown Act.
Do we have any questions from the council, Council Member Friels,
No question.
Mayor Pro Tem Freeman?
No questions at this time.
Thank you very much. Council Member Morris Lopez?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. Council Member Sabathia?
No questions.
Thank you. I have a clarification, or 2 points, actually. When you discussed emails to council members, to the whole entire council or commission or to whomever, rather than putting everybody in the address line, would BCC work? So if one were to reply to all, they would only be replying to the sender?
BCC does work in that.
Okay, so we can have staff do the BCC line instead of the addressee line. Thank you. Question on teleconferencing. Currently, we're in hybrid mode. That goes away on February 28th.
It will under the COVID, although the AB 361 will stay in place for a longer period of time if there's another emergency. It could be the old teleconference rule
Mhm.
that we've gotten familiar with over the years, where we have to list the location on the agenda.
Right.
The council person is supposed to post the, if you're doing it from a hotel, you're supposed to post the agenda on the hotel door, has to be open to the public, has to be audible. those traditional teleconference rules will stay. They're not gonna be changed. But there will be new legislation that will continue after 2024 that will allow just cause, remote attention.
Right. So between February 28th, 2023 and January 1st, 2024, there's the possibility of still having hybrid without going back to hybrid as we know it today.
Right, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
With an emergency. Once the COVID emergency goes away, our ability to do that without an emergency on the 361 is good. But we can still hold hybrid meetings as long as we have a quorum here and we follow the process.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. I think it'd be good if I put a little memo together and kind of gave you the dates and what you could do between those dates. I could do that. I'll send it.
Thank you very much. And if you can send the council this presentation, that would be awesome. And do it as a BCC. Thank you very much.
Will do.
City council and staff announcements. This is an opportunity for council and staff to share the community calendar and announce upcoming dates of interest to the public. This is just calendar. Councilmember Friels.
Thank you. I just got a couple things. Next month, the San Juan School sixth graders are, at least 35 or 40 of them are hoping to make science camp up in the Santa Cruz Mountains. It's a 4-day program between January 17th and 20th. It sounds like they have 35 excited eighth grader or sixth graders who are looking forward to participating in the program this year. And I'll go ahead and read this. This is from Katie Shear she's one of the school teachers. Unfortunately, every year it becomes more and more challenging to fulfill the financial needs and cover the cost of each student. Our students have been working hard and participating in various fundraisers activities in an effort to help raise funds. Sadly, we have fallen short reaching the financial abilities to guarantee that every sixth grade student will be able to attend this year. We're asking for your help and hoping that for donations to help families to cover the cost of $378 per student. And that $378 covers their room and board and the meals and then the science fair, or the science camp. Any donations would be gratefully appreciated. Our goal is for each student to have equitable opportunity to attend camp at no cost to their families. I have spoken with many parents and adults who have fond memories of their time at science camp. As teachers and parents, we would like to ensure that all students, regardless of their ability to pay, are able to gain knowledge, independence, and personal growth that would be obtained in this unique experience. And then Katie goes on to say, that thank you for your time. Any amount, big or small, could mean the world of a difference to our students and families during time. If willing and able, please make checks payable to the San Juan Home Club. And she said we can pick up the checks or money orders, or they can be dropped off at San Juan School. She says, and then she continues with, we are truly humbled by the continued support of our San Juan Bautista community. Sincerely, Katie Shear. If you'd like to contact Katie Shear, you can call the San Juan School at 623-4538. That one. It's kind of a heads up. We've got a good storm coming next week. Looks like it's another one of those beautiful atmospheric rivers. And if it's the one that hit my dad in Maui 2 days ago, it's going to be a beauty. And then it's like to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's, everybody.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem Freeman.
I have nothing except I'd like to also add Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody out there in Zoom land and right here in council chambers.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Morris Lopez.
Yes, I just want to say the same. Happy New Year, happy holidays. Stay safe, everybody, and enjoy your vacations out there.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Sabathia.
Happy holidays to everyone, and I've got nothing else to say.
Neither do I. Thank you very much. Anything from city manager? City calendar?
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, I actually have a slide in the city manager's report about the closing of City Hall between Christmas and New Year's. People should be aware of that. There will be some staff, of course, working with our utilities. We have to send out our utility bills on the 27th, but otherwise we'll be closed. Also, the need to change and adjust the regular meeting in January to the 24th, because 4 of our council members are attending a training in Sacramento the next day. So that was another request that was on the calendar coming up. And I'll be out of town tomorrow at lunch, so I'll be reading my email and reachable by phone. So I'll be in touch. That's it. Feel free to call. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Attorney Rathi?
No, just wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Thank you very much. I do have one announcement for the calendar. Yesterday, we attended a ribbon cutting for the San Juan School for the use of the basketball courts. And what an amazing time that was. There were a couple of little kids out there playing basketball. But the community effort between the council and the school district working together, pretty darn amazing, super fun. And Mariana Tomas provided the cookies for that. Thank you very much. A little shout out there.
Jennifer Colby provided.
Right, Jennifer provided basketball cupcakes. Okay. What? Reports from city council representatives to regional organizations and committees. Councilmember Friels.
Nothing to report. Our fire district meeting was canceled. So.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem Freeman.
Thank you. AMBAG was canceled, so I have nothing to report there. I attended Water Resources Board because you were out of town for a couple of days. The action they took was they transferred $8,000 from their general fund to the turf removal fund. So I take it that the turf removal program it covers all of San Benito County, including San Juan Bautista, is going well because they need more money to provide the rebates or whatever you want to call it. Second, we did have an integrated waste management committee meeting a week and a half ago. There was only one discussion item, and that was improving the registration and the tracking of non-franchised haulers to the landfill. You would call that landscapers, people hauling construction debris, things like that, not called ecology. Ecology is franchise people, everybody else is non-franchise. So we're trying to do a little bit better way of tracking all that stuff. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Lopez.
Nothing to add at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Sabathia.
Nothing to add.
Thank you. And again, the fire district meeting was canceled. Thank you very much for taking my meeting.
You're welcome.
Okay, treasurer's report. Tonight we have Wendy.
Hi there, good evening. So we are presenting to you tonight the treasurer's report for the 4-month period ended October 31st, or 33% of the city's fiscal year. Our general fund revenues are running at 26% for the year to date. Correspondingly, general fund expenditures are at 26% for the year to date. The net effect is a positive change in the general fund balance of $86,000. Water enterprise funds revenues are running at 35% for the year to date, and expenses are at 40%. The net effect is a positive change in the water enterprise fund of $94,000. And then our sewer fund is doing fairly well. It's running at 44% for the year to date. The expenses are at 29%. And the net effect is a positive change in the sewer fund of 248,000 for the year. Beyond that, I don't have any big notable items to present at this meeting.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments, concerns from the council, Councilmember Friels?
Nothing, thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Freeman.
I have nothing. Thank you for the great report.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Morris Lopez.
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Sabathia.
I have nothing.
Thank you. Do we have anything from Zoom land?
For those in attendance tonight, if you would like to speak on this matter, please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. That will raise your hand. You'll be brought into the meeting. Once you unmute yourself, your 3-minute timer will start. Again, if you would like to speak on this, please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. We have no hands raised at this time, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Anything from the chambers? No comment from the chambers. Thank you very much. Thank you, Wendy. Merry
Happy
Christmas.
holidays.
City managers report.
I've got a few slides for you tonight, Mayor, and members of the city council, members of the public. As far as the council priorities go, now that our council is seated, we can begin our work, and we'll have the audit and mid-year budget adjustments to look at in January, and then strategic planning to begin in February. And I've reached out to Citygate, the consulting firm that we used in 2019, and they're glad to come back on board. I have a conversation with them scheduled for January 5th. It starts with city council interviews and then a community workshop and conversation. Last time we did this in the library and it was really productive. It helped us get all of our priorities in line. We also have a city survey that we will do, a mailer to everybody, and of course the Survey Monkey, or different ways to respond. Last year we had a response, 3 years ago we had a response of about 175 folks out of 800 households. Is really good. So with this information, the council will be able to get their heads around the whole community's priorities and set a course for our budget moving into the spring. Basically, if policies are not funded, it's hard to pursue them, obviously. City manager's priorities. This is coming from my performance evaluation. Thank you very much, from November. We've been researching communication strategies for the city manager and the city as a whole. Included in that is a social media policy. We've been looking at other cities. They're really good to have. So that way we know when it's appropriate to provide a hard copy to our council and elected officials, or whether to communicate via email, text, and social media and phone. So been working also towards establishing office hours. That's been recommended to me, so I've been working on that. Right now, office hours that are good for me include Monday and Tuesday mornings, and I was able to meet with all 5 council members for an hour before tonight's council meeting. So I'd like to try and keep regular days once a week to meet with council members. And if they're unable, that's fine. We can meet the following week or just schedule a meeting some other time during. Unmute. Am I muted?
No, we can hear you.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is just some of the things we're thinking about. I'm thinking about personally for the new year. They wanted to know the city manager's priorities, and of course we want to conclude our reorganization, and we'll be looking at our city clerk and treasurer appointments later in the agenda tonight. We have 4 seats available on the planning commission, which we've been advertising for. We need to reappoint or reconsider regional committees, AMBAG, COG, LAFCO, for example, and then reaffirm the city subcommittees participation, the Economic Development, Citizens Advisory Committee, Urban Growth Boundary, Public Safety, and consider if we have the capacity or the interest to add a youth commission or senior citizens committee. The organizational evaluation will also come forward as requested in the evaluation, in my evaluation. to look at things that we need to put some capacity behind. I mentioned recreation. We're talking about a part-time recreation coordinator at mid-year, so that will be considered in January. And then there was concern about the size of the deputy city clerk's job description. I believe it's 5 pages because the predecessor just kept on adding responsibilities. And so is there a need to split that up and sort it out better? Because the city clerk and deputy city clerk positions are going to be a little more intense than they were because the same person presumably would cover both city council and planning commission. In the past, they split it. So we also have IT is another area where we could use some capacity building in our organization. And I think the Public Safety Committee has identified the sheriff's contract and other things that could be that need to be watched carefully and maybe should be staffed. So just some ideas on the organization. We'll take a look at that together. A class and compensation study is a good idea. We noticed hiring our deputy city clerk. Oh, I forgot. I'll make that announcement. That are not just our salaries, but some of our benefits, our retirement, for example, at 3% is low. And maybe we want to look at what other cities are offering in terms of retirement and in health benefits. Most public agencies do pay for the member and family. That's private sector is just paying for the member. And that's what we're doing now. We're just paying to the member. And it's about $1,400 a month to cover the rest of the family. So we'll look at other similar cities and come forward with a new org chart for the council during our budget hearing. So we're going to work on that. This is the current org chart and it's available in our budget. If someone wants to take a hard look at it, these slides are also posted online. It shows the contract services in dark blue from building permits, current planning. This is before we hired the assistant city manager, so it needs to be updated. But there's a lot of things we're trying to do here with 10 full-time employees. So it's a very busy, intense office. So see what we can do. The sphere of influence update. Again, just to especially for our new members of the city council, they are both members of this subcommittee, so they're pretty familiar with what we're doing. We have the original letter that we sent to property owners back in September. We only got 3 responses to that letter. We sent a second letter and we got a much better response. In fact, we met with a property owner and her family today, and it was really good, productive meeting. And the community is coming around. I have 3 meetings scheduled with property owners after the first of the year. So this is still proceeding. We presented the draft sphere of influence map to the Planning Commission and had a good conversation there. But the work that we have left to do on this subcommittee is to review the responses. I'll bring them collectively to the subcommittee and we'll review them. Greenbelt policies within the general plan and the role of the county in that regard. Establishing a urban growth boundary and taking a position on that. And then working with a new LAFCO team. Well, we expect a new executive director there. Bill Nichols retired. So, and then the sphere of influence committee is also associated with the Senate Bill 2 state grant. And we were able to get that timeline extended by HCD, Housing and Community Development, to December 2023. So that gives us more time to talk to property owners and work with the commission and city council on this project. So it's still out there. We're working in the background and we'll bring it forward in January and announced. Another big project that we're working on still is our active transportation program, our cultural bike and walking trail that surrounds the city. Yesterday, we received a nearly final draft and we want to get that to the council as soon as we can this week to give you about a month to consider it as we head into January and February, because the state grant that's paying for that program ends and we have to get the plan to Caltrans by the end of February. So we're looking at perhaps a special meeting, but it's got some really great amenities in it. It talks about our newly found cooperation between the Archdiocese, the state parks, and the school district. And we'll get that draft report out to you so that this week, so we can talk about it in January at a special meeting workshop. A joint meeting with the Planning Commission and the new Planning Commission and City Council. And then January through March, we'll be wrapping up our plan and we'll be submitting it to Caltrans by the second week in February. So that's a pretty aggressive schedule, but I think it has a lot of things in it that you'll find familiar. We've had a number of public meetings this past year, so it's just tying it all up. So that's coming to an end. And we have a number of grants that our planning, community development have been taking on. So these are things that we initiated before the Assistant City Manager, Brian Fausch, was hired, and he's been moving them forward for us. The REAP grant program we used originally to adopt our ADU upgrade and new ordinance. And now I understand, and John Freeman is our representative, actually the chair of the AMBAG, can talk about the REAP too. We're looking at an annual allocation there that's really positive. So that we can put to work because we have to do work on our inclusionary housing, our affordable housing program, as our sixth cycle of our required housing needs assessment is upon us, and we'll have to move forward with our general plan by this time, December 2023. This council approved the permanent local housing allocation program, and we expect to receive up to $500,000. I signed the original agreements today. So that program will start moving forward. It's going to be looking at ADUs and health and safety improvements and compliance with our building and safety laws related to ADUs. And then also to be considered for homelessness and other things. We'll bring the full program back to the council so that you can have a look at it. But we just wanted to review the status on some of these complicated, full of acronyms, planning grants that we're working on. Let you know they're still moving forward. We did file the notice of public nuisance for 451 San Juan Hollister Road this week. So it's been recorded now on the property, and we're working through the invoices and payments and hopefully a reimbursement agreement with the property owner. Sign ordinance enforcement program that was on the agenda for discussion item in November. We would like to return to the council with some suggested changes. But it's interesting, the feedback we received at the last conversation. The people who spoke anyway were not in favor of the sandwich signs, for example, the A-frame signs on the sidewalk. Of course, they need to be done so that ADA accessibility is there. So we hope to bring that back in some form or another with an update to the Council and Planning Commission in 2023. And we have been making progress with our one-stop permit process. We do hit some snags. Wrestling with some new technology recently, but we are trying our best to make the process smoother and faster. Now with the new city engineer on board, it's going to be a lot easier, and we're going to connect them to our network and make sure they're integrated into our software. The Economic Development Citizens Advisory Committee has 3 subcommittees: outreach, business development and retention, and community relations and resources. So there are 5 subcommittees there. And we're working hard to get that fully appointed. And we're also working on an annual report that would be due in January. The SEDS regional process is underway with the mayor representing the city on the 3 or 4 meetings there on the regional SEDS process. And I think, well, almost there. I did share with the council a quick wastewater update. Oh, let's see, wait a minute. Oh, back to economic development. I skipped a slide. I apologize. The city has joined the California Main Street program and has provided the community with the ADCAC five subscriptions to that. And that's a way of learning new ideas of historic main streets and how to retain businesses and grow our Main Street plan. So that's a really good step forward. We had 2 special presentations about downtown retail in the last couple months. We have been working on short-term rental compliance with Granicus is the name of their compliance agency, who's checking all the Airbnb softwares for unlicensed, untaxed short-term rentals in our city. And the city retained services of a historian architect, Meg Clovis, to be our advisor on all historic preservation questions. So now we have the expertise at our on retention, so we can make these decisions quicker and better informed than we have in the past. Some of the good changes in community development. Wastewater update, I shared with the council the $14 million afforded to us from the USDA. The mayor did sign the 22 pages of conditions that we get to comply with in order to access this money. The $10 million loan will be financed after the project is built. So on the agenda tonight, the council approved an agreement with Ridgeline to help us secure interim financing. And we'll borrow about $14 million, short term, 18 months for the term of construction. And then the loan and the grants that we've received will pay that off. And we'll get into the long-term financing. This loan is 40 years at 2.25% interest. So that's a really, really good deal for us. Working on, okay, we've talked on that. The USDA conditions have to be met before we can bid. The goal was to bid in February, so that's right around the corner for us. Our design is completed and signed by the engineers. We have one outstanding permit from the California Fish and Wildlife Service. We were in conversation with them all week long, trying to wrap that up. We're still looking at mitigation credits and looking at more than one credit bank, hoping we can get a better price than the price we shared with the council in November. And as was approved earlier on this agenda tonight, it's a sad reality that we're still incurring violations, as many as 2 per month. This was a 6-month report that included 11 violations of $33,000. So it's urgent that we get our wastewater project done. On the water update, we had an important meeting this past week with Hollister in the district, and we agreed to verify water quality standards for Hollister. And I set up a meeting with the Wallace Group and Stantec and our team to meet to talk about that. In the meantime, the district is looking for their agreement on the pipeline, because they want to start committing and investing funds in direct parts of that project. And they'd feel better if they had a permanent agreement. So that I sent to Bob today, and we'll talk about it as time allows. We also got notice that the state revolving loan fund is interested in funding our water project, which again would give us another really good interest rate. The district offered 4% interest rate, and we've included that in our rate increase. But I think we can get that down to a 2.5 or 3% interest rate by going through the state instead. The district has also applied for a couple grants on that project. So as we did with our wastewater, we're going to try and fund our water project that way too. We do have an update scheduled to the EPA based on the water district's most recent schedule. And also we have applied to the Division of Drinking Water to integrate our microbial system that removes nitrates from the water from well 6. So the microbial system was an experiment that's been tested now and passed its probation period, so to speak. And we're ready to move forward and get that permitted, because right now well 6 is not online because of nitrates, and the microbial system can bring well 6 back online for it. So that's in process. We've talked to the Division of Drinking Water, and we hope to get that permit early January, February. Commercial truck traffic, we've had some success with our signs. It's better, it's not great. I have talked most recently to a truck driver here on Polk Street on his way to True Leaf Farms. So it's not perfect. Our new parking ordinance, I've had mixed feedback on this. We have residents in town who don't think it's fair to cite property owners for parking in front of their driveway. So I don't know if the council wants to reconsider that or not, but that was one law out of the batch of laws that we put out. I saw that we tagged the RV trailer on Mokelumne this morning. And we've also issued a permit for an Airstream on Lang Street, consistent with the new parking ordinances. The noise ordinance is on this agenda. It's been postponed, but we'll pick this up in just a few minutes. And we also have a nuisance ordinance that we've drafted, vacancy tax discussion that was postponed, and we still have to talk about golf carts and neighborhood electric vehicles. So this is just what I call on the things that are on the horizon, some kind of leftover business from last meeting. We have to bring forward our annual building and fire code updates, and the fire code is a public hearing. I've done a lot of work last week on broadband policies. I attended the Senator Caballero's briefing on Monday the 12th, and trying to see what the best role is for the city. We did design a conduit to run dark fiber between here and Hollister, and originally Hollister was going to own that conduit, and so we're reevaluating that. I've had one meeting with county council and the sheriff about redrafting their contract, so I expect another meeting in January. The Fire Advisory Committee has got to be all restructured, as Councilmember Fields suggested. The two members from Hollister and the Board of Supervisors have now retired and there's new members to be appointed. The Climate Action Plan is something we need to focus on this next year as we look at our priorities. Talks about reducing our greenhouse gases and coming into compliance with our state sustainability laws. City facilities include work on the fire apparatus bay here on Polk Street to allow for a bigger rig in that building. The community hall is part of the subject of a conference call tomorrow morning at 10. The best way to aesthetically pleasing as we can provide that acoustic difference there and reduce the sound revibes that happen in that room so it can be used more often by more people. Hopefully to be used by the seniors more often for their lunches. And then office space is something we need to always be looking at. I think with our, and then we talked about the Microbi agreement already. That's part of the drinking water division, but we actually have an operational agreement with Microbi we need to bring forward. And then mitigation credits and agreements. The announcement that I didn't include in these slides because they were written last week is that the hiring of a new deputy city clerk. The deputy city clerk that I used to work with in Salinas has agreed to come on board. She agreed Monday, so she'll be starting January 9th. And she's a real professional. I believe Shauna Fields was her mentor. So I look forward to bringing her on. Her name is Elizabeth. She goes by Liz Soto, and she's bilingual, and she's a real professional. And you'll see a big difference in our agendas and our meetings. I'm sure of it. I hope so. So thank you for your patience during this time. We've gone almost a full year. So yeah, new deputy city clerk starts, Liz Soto starts January 9th, which is a Monday. And then we talked about all these calendar items already, so I can skip to that. And so I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments, concerns from the council, Councilmember Friels?
No, I think it's all pretty cut and dry. Thank you, Don. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem Freeman?
Thank you. I just, my only question was, I was thinking about the new signs we have to cut down on the truck traffic. I was wondering, is there any way of quantifying, do we have like a 25% reduction, 50% reduction, 70% reduction, or zero? No, it would be the worst, 0%. But
Just anecdotally, I have seen trucks stop on Monterey Street and not come into town and just pull right back on the 156. I can't tell you for sure. I think it's pretty substantial. I don't know.
It's kind of hard to say too, because this is the off season.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So,
but
yeah,
Taylor Farms runs all year, right? They're 24/7, 365.
Yeah. A lot of them in my perspective come from True Leaf. I don't know, Taylor Farms seems to all go off on 101 because it's right there.
They're closer to 129.
Yeah. So I don't, it's this time of year, it's hard to say. There is still traffic, but is it diminished? I don't know. Maybe.
I can
hopeful.
talk to our private security and code enforcement and try and get back to them.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Thank you. Councilmember Morris Lopez.
Yes, thank you. I had a question regarding the new hired deputy clerk. Dawn, you said she was mentored by Shauna Friels, and you worked with her previously. What city or municipality did she work for prior to coming to us?
She worked for the city of Salinas for 9 years as their deputy city clerk, working with Patty, their city clerk.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Sabathia.
That still sounds a little weird. I just have a couple questions and points. I am all for the office hours. I think that's great. It'll help Don. The one question I had is, I think it might be useful, not question, comment. Useful to have, a slot of hours just for the community, not just council members. For a few hours a week, so that way people know exactly when they could get a slice of your time.
Okay.
And set that up and plan for that. I think that would be super useful. And then I had just another comment. I know you're gonna be doing this, but I'm putting it out there. Letting people know some way to communicate the balance that you're gonna be taking between the internal housekeeping and making sure we're getting good compensation and things like that and other city business. Just making sure people understand and know, that everything's rolling forward. It's not just one or the other at the top of the priority list.
Thank you very much. I have a couple of questions. Mike Crovey, we have been operating it as a pilot plant at a very low capacity. What's the max capacity? Do you know?
We applied to the drinking water division to run at 45 gallons per minute of treated water, which when blended back with well 6 will yield us 100 gallons per minute.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool. Good. Awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's not, well 6 has a capacity of over 300 gallons per minute. So it's way scaled back, but at least
Yeah.
it gives us a 3-legged stool instead of a 2-legged.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. In January, you talked about a joint council planning commission public workshop.
I just threw that out there.
Count-
I'm
it's-
glad you bring it up.
The council and the planning commission. We talked about a training session, not an actual.
That would be a different matter.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
hoping for
okay.
a workshop on the active transportation plan.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you for that
That
clarification.
way the new commissioners will get to know the council. Hopefully a productive workshop.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you.
But yes, Mayor, you had asked for a special meeting with Norma's help.
Thank you, Norma. Welcome.
Of a training session for Robert's Rules of Orders and other protocols.
Thank you. I think that's it. Do we have any questions, comments, and concerns from Zoom land?
If anyone would like to speak on this matter, please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. You'll be brought into the meeting and your 3-minute time will start at the time that you unmute yourself. Again, now is the time if you'd like to speak on this matter to raise your hand by using the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. We have no hands raised at this time, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Anybody in council chambers? Nothing from the chambers. Thank you. Thank you for that, Don.
Sure.
Anything from the fire department?
No, I have not heard from the sheriff or the fire this month.
Okay, all right, action items. This is where we put 7F with 6A, select ad hoc committee to interview candidates to fill 4 vacancies on the planning commission. And 7F was an ordinance for selection of planning commissioners. And this was brought forth by, at the time, Councilmember Freeman, Mayor Pro Tem Freeman, if you want to take this one.
Thank you. For quite a considerable period of time, the city of San Juan, along with most other city councils, frankly, has usually had a one-to-one relationship with a city council person and a planning commissioner. In other words, the city council person appoints said planning commissioner. It's approved by the entire council. It's also the way it works at the county, by the way. It works that way at most other cities. City manager pointed out to me that most other cities are districted and we're not, and so that's kind of I don't really put a lot of stock in that. I still think it's best for public accountability because planning is our hardest job. It's also our most intellectually challenging job. It's the one that will make or break how the public thinks of the city council and how they think of the planning commission. So it's really important that we have high quality candidates, vetted by each individual city council person and then approved by the whole. And I feel that offers the most accountability to this council and also to the planning commission. That's it.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments, concerns from council? Councilmember Frail?
No, well, I don't have any questions, but I did, I do like the idea of a commissioner being appointed, because that way Don said there is an accountability. If a specific commissioner isn't quite cutting the mustard, then the city council member who asked for that appointment can basically say, this isn't working. And it makes it a lot easier it doesn't put the whole onus on all of us. I mean, eventually we vote for like a removal of somebody. So I kind of like that aspect. I have, I've been on the planning commission, and I was appointed. And I have also applied for the planning commission years ago and stood at that dais and got shelled by the city council. I have no problems with interviews, but I can see people having some difficulty about standing in front of the public and getting, reamed. And I got beat up pretty bad, and I was a lot younger then, and there was somebody on the council that didn't like me much, and I got beat up pretty bad, but I thick skin. So I kind of like the idea. That way you can go out and recruit somebody. Hey, work with them. Hey, I've been, I'm gonna put Mike Ponce on the spot again. I've been trying to get Mike Ponce to get on our planning commission, but he's got other things going on. But that's what I'm talking about. Be able to talk to him and say, because if you're going to appoint somebody, you kind of know that person. You're like, okay, I know this person can handle the stress of the workload of the planning commissioner, especially on a busy agenda. Some of these agendas are, when I first started on the planning commission, they were giant. I couldn't believe how much stuff we were seeing, and it was tough for somebody who had no clue. Well, I knew all about the planning stuff, but I had to rely solely on the staff at the time, and that didn't help very much. So, but just going back to I like the appointment, but as John said, we would still approve that person as a whole. I would bring that person forward, or John would bring that person. One of us would bring the person forward and say, "This is the person I'd like to appoint." Is that what you mean, John?
Yeah.
And then
exactly.
the council approves that person. Because then one of us could. This is the reason that I've asked this person to join, and these are the questions that I asked the person. These are the things that we discussed 3 or 4 times. That way, there's no confusion on what was asked. Was there a checklist? Was there not a checklist? Was there a point system? That kind of stuff. Because we really don't have any cut and dry point systems for planning commissioners, which I guess something we could probably work on, but probably make it a lot difficult. But, that's about. I'm going to stop. I'm just rambling. That's it.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Morris Lopez.
Thank you, Mayor. My input, and it may be coming from my experience, I was voted. I think I was the first year that we opted to not have an appointee attached to a particular city council member. And I felt like it was a good thing for me, and also the fact that we aren't districted. And I also feel that it gives the planning commissioners more autonomy. Sometimes I think the perception is that if a council member appoints an individual, they may just maybe be a little bit influenced by that particular council person's thoughts or concerns or issues with particular projects or planning as a whole and land use. I think what's critical is that you have, first of all, individuals that are very, very interested and passionate about the city that they choose to be a planning commissioner in terms of growth, future growth, projects, what's the benefit of the community. I felt like our planning commission, we did have some issues. I'm not gonna lie to you, they were on full public display. But I also felt that there was ordinances and there were regulations that weren't being utilized. So as far as having the onus land on the councilman if someone's behaving badly or poorly, or what I heard someone say, not cutting the mustard. Basically, you have objective measurements and they're in our ordinances, they're in our city governance there. And I feel that we just have to be bold enough, brave enough to enforce that. So I feel that it should be an open process and not an appointment.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Sabathia.
I am in favor of the entire council interviewing and voting for each planning commissioner. My personal opinion is that I think that would be part of the job that I signed up for in running for city council, to be a part of helping to, at this point, rebuild our entire planning commission, because we gotta put 4 or 5 people back on there. And the like it to be, like we said, some objective metrics. However we do that. My time applying for the planning commission was pretty, I'll call it traumatic. I was graded against what I know and understand to be protected, classes or attributes, which I thought was kind of crazy. But I'm all in favor of doing all of the interviewing and maybe not the interviewing in person, but the voting by the entire council here for each commissioner. That's all.
Thank you very much. I too am in favor of voting on. I think the planning commissioners need to be responsible to the whole entire council. We should have a list of questions like we did 4 years ago, where each council member is, and it doesn't have to be like it was 4 years ago, where everybody stands in front of the podium and we ask them all questions. It could be done in a private forum. It could be done with an ad hoc committee, having 2 council members weeding out. I don't, we'd have to get more than 4 people to volunteer. But to choose several and put those before the council so the whole entire council can choose them. I think the commission is accountable to the whole entire council, not just to one council member. And I think we should all feel that we should be able to talk to any commissioner. If the commissioner is not performing the duties of their job that they have signed up for, then we as a council take action. I think it's a council decision, not an individual decision. If you all have somebody that you would like to see on the commission, I say by all means have them sign up. And bring them forward.
I don't know if I may not explain myself, but the council still has to vote in the commissioner, and the council still has to vote out a commissioner. I guess the way I was trying to put forward is, if I was able to appoint somebody, then that person would be able to come to me with some difficulties, like, hey, I'm having a hard time getting an ordinance followed. Can you follow up on it? And, my concern is, if we have how many of us can talk to a certain specific planning commissioner? Can 3 of us talk to a specific planning commissioner? And is that a Brown Act violation? If 4 of us do, I guess I guess that's what I'm looking at is if they have the planning commissioner and the historic resource board member would have somebody to come to and say, hey, this is the help I need. This is the difficulties I'm following. Or no, I'm not, and this is just staff isn't listening to me, something like that. That way we'd be able to be their voice in City Hall. And it wouldn't be, because maybe some people aren't too comfortable about being, I guess, confrontational. But that's what I'm getting. We would still vote for the person. We have to. And we would still, vote to dismiss somebody. And the way our crazy ordinance is written, it's with or without cause. I mean, we don't.
Absolutely,
we
where
don't
that
need-
will
yeah.
state.
Yeah, we don't need cause, which is, I'm a little uncomfortable with that, but yeah, we would still have to do the voting. So I'm not talking about EJ says, I want Joe Smith, and that's who it'll be. We still have to vote that person. Does that make?
Yeah,
more sense?
absolutely. Yeah, I understood that when you first brought it up. I get what you're saying. I still think that we should all vote on everybody, that anybody who wants to apply can apply. If we all only have one, then that's only 5 applicants. We could have 7 or 8 people that wish to apply. What are you gonna do then? Why?
Yeah, the point I was making is that if there are 10 applicants, I'd like to be able to vet all 10, not a subset of them.
I agree.
That's, and I understand that. I think that's really hard. And I somewhat agree with it, but I also look at, frankly, the planning commission in the last 4 years, and there's a multitude of reasons. I'm not blaming anybody. Hasn't been up to the quality of our previous planning commissioners. From 2002 to 2016, we had really high quality people. Scott, Eric Gretasoff, Fonda Gobert. We had really high quality people who really worked hard at it. And the quality slipped. And I come back to the selection and appointment process. It changed and the quality changed, went down. Hopefully it's going to be a lot better. The 4 candidates, I know all of them and I feel pretty good about them, or in most cases, very good about them. But still, I would think it would behoove us to have a little bit more accountability and responsibility. It's the most important thing we do.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions, comments, and concerns from Zoom land?
If anyone would like to speak on this matter, please use your raise hand button at this time. That button is at the bottom of your screen. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Again, if you would like to speak on this matter, please raise your hand by using the raise hand button. And I am bringing in someone to speak here. So David, if you unmute yourself, your 3-minute time will start.
Hey, David, welcome.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak on this subject matter. I've been involved with both species of selection, you might say. And I kind of go with everybody's decision on which way they want to go here, but I tend to think that with going with the mayor and with EJ, as far as that goes, the selection process, you have a handful of people who are very interested. I think the vetting process is really important, and I kind of go along with Council Member Morris Lopez said, and that maybe we got to worry about the buddy system here a little bit when it comes to selecting someone. It might not be that apparent, but it's what appears to be, kind of a thing. So my comment is to have an open selection where you vet people that want to be interested. And I think that would allow more people to be involved. I think the efforts that needs to be placed is get out to the public and do whatever we can to encourage people to participate and apply. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other public comment?
We do not have any other hands raised at this time.
Thank you very much. Okay, so,
Madam Mayor, if I may, I have one more comment. We have had situations where we've had multiple people applying for only one position or multiple people applying for two positions and we've had, I'd say, varying degrees of success. I once tried to get I guess an ordinance or a resolution passed that we interview all the candidates because we had certain city councilmen in the past, not the past council, but 2 or 3 councils ago, who didn't interview people, who just ignored them and picked his buddy as Planning Commissioner Madero said. And now that's not right either. We need to come up with a kind of a comprehensive system where we do vet all the candidates and the candidates would file their paperwork with the city, not with each individual council person, and we can go through and sort them. We can go through and sort them with the, with the city manager or whatever. And there wouldn't be any Brown Act violations because we could all see the application packets. We could all sort through them and we could all talk about them and then we could arrive, each of us could arrive at a person who we think is best qualified for that position. I do feel strongly that we need to, like Dave says, reach out and properly consider each qualified candidate. And that's what I'm trying to do here also. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Mayor, permission to speak.
Go ahead.
Yes, so I want to caution the use of qualified and high quality individuals because that really puts, some sort of preferential or even kind of maybe off-putting of individuals that maybe consider, well, I don't have a planning degree or I don't I'm not a construction person or I'm not familiar with these zones. But if there's a genuine interest and the ability to learn and go to meetings and trainings, I think you're kind of disqualifying people by using that terminology. And we want to have some, equity here if we're reaching out to the community. And maybe someone that is highly qualified looking at their resume or their application, but maybe isn't well versed in historic preservation or doesn't have an interest. But yet you have someone that doesn't have those qualifications, that has a genuine, appetite and desire and passion for historic preservation, for HRB or planning and zoning and historic village like ours. So I think we have to be really cautious of how we throw those terms out. And I feel like we don't need to make this really difficult. And I understand that we didn't have good objective metrics maybe in the past. But I kind of envision it if we've got 4 seats open, correct? And have 10 people that apply, each individual council member should look at all those 10 applications. Then you come up with your four choices. And wouldn't it be a simple tally of who got the most votes? I mean, that's how I'm seeing it. Maybe I'm just putting it too simplistically, but that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from the council? Thank you. Okay, so I'm at a loss here on now what to do. The action item is to select an ad hoc committee to interview candidates to fill 4 vacancies on the planning commission. A couple of things we could do. One is to vote on how we want to do this, have individual commissioners for individual council members, or the whole entire council take application or we accept applications from anybody and everybody who wants to apply and figure out what to do there. So do I have that right? Are we voting first on whether we want to do individual or a group?
The question before the council on this particular matter is whether to bring back an ordinance. In other words, to change the present method that provides for the ad hoc committee to interview all the candidates and then bring nominations forward on a continuing basis. In order to change that and go back to the way that this was done prior to 2018, we'd have to adopt an ordinance restoring the previous section of the municipal code.
Okay.
That would take an ordinance 2 readings in 30
Right.
days.
Okay, so can I please have a motion to,
Can I ask a question?
go ahead.
So, but John just spoke on was a discussion item. Agendizes a discussion item.
That's correct.
And
In other words,
correct me if I'm wrong, but we can't take action on a,
you could not introduce the ordinance tonight. That's
Right.
correct.
So the action item is to select an ad hoc committee to interview candidates to fill 4 vacancies on the planning commission.
yes, and I understand that part.
Okay.
But
Right,
As
So-
far as the discussion item, you could direct staff to bring back an ordinance if you wanted to change.
after the fact,
After,
Okay.
yeah, as
Okay.
Councilmember Freeman
so
suggested.
down the road, because we
Right.
need to get moving on
The
this.
discussion item, you would be
Right.
allowed to direct us to bring back the change, which we would do at the next meeting.
Okay, I
You
just
could
want,
even do it at a special meeting, but as an ordinance, it would have to be adopted at a regular meeting.
okay, so now what we're doing is,
selecting an ad hoc committee to interview candidates to fill 4 vacancies on the commission.
okay, I just want to make sure that we got the.
Yep.
So just to clarify, did direction come to a close on item F then? And I think that's where what Councilmember Friels is trying to get at as well is, was there direction from the council on this item 7F on whether to bring an ordinance back or not? And has this item closed and we've moved on to item 6A?
Thank you for that
And you could do that
clarification.
By motion, you could close, if there's a motion to bring an ordinance back, then that would be the question the council could vote on as far as a motion on 6F, on 7F. which is-
That's definitely, that's exactly what, thank you, Norma, that's exactly.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks, Norma. So the motion is to change the ordinance that currently exists.
So a discussion item only, this isn't an action. So
Right,
the consensus amongst the council that can be met is, do you direct staff to bring an ordinance back? Or do you keep the matter the same process as you are today?
okay.
And I think they could do that by a motion to direct staff or not.
No motions for discussion items. This is a discussion item.
That's what I was getting at.
So no motion. It can only
So-
be a consensus amongst the council.
So according to the conversation, the consensus is to vote rather than appoint.
That's correct.
So then we would not direct staff to bring the ordinance forward.
Yes.
Perfect.
I understand.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to action items 6A, select an ad hoc committee to interview candidates to fill 4 vacancies on the planning commission. Questions, comments, concerns from the council? Councilmember Friels. Thank you.
Oh, I'm in a,
Oh, so
pick me, yeah, who's gonna be on the ad hoc?
No.
Yeah, What,
I
yeah.
got it.
We're
Thank you.
selecting, right? So I'm throwing my name out there for the ad hoc on that.
Just asking for questions, comments, or
I'm
concerns.
just throwing my name out there. No questions. I already did all that
Okay.
blabber right a few minutes ago.
Thank you very much. Okay, Scott would, Councilmember Friels would like to be on the ad hoc committee. I want to be on that committee. Mayor Pro Tem Freeman. Questions, comments, concerns, volunteering? 1, 2, or 3.
I'll volunteer.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Morris Lopez.
Okay, maybe I haven't been paying attention. I've got a little bit of a head cold.
The question before you is, 1, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns
Yes.
on the selection of the ad hoc committee? And 2, if you want to be on the ad hoc committee.
Okay, concerning, this is where I'm a little confused. I'm sorry, everybody. In terms of discussion item 7F, the way the conversation was leaning, it seemed like the majority was, we don't want a new ordinance. So is this ad hoc committee tied into the existing ordinance?
Correct.
And I was under the impression that we maybe needed to discuss whether we want to keep an ad hoc committee, since it appears that we all want a voice in vetting and selecting and not appointing.
Correct. So our job is to select an ad hoc committee to interview candidates to fill 4 vacancies on the planning commission. If we choose not to do that, that will come up in the motion. For instance, this is not me actually doing it. I make a motion to select an ad hoc committee and appoint and have Don and Bob be the ad hoc committee. And that's how it would go. If we choose not to do that and choose to go in a different direction, then you would make a motion not to, however that motion would look like. That would fall, that first motion would fall to the floor and we would proceed with something else. Does that make sense?
Yes. So I guess I'm leaning towards looking at something else, but I'm not at the point of making another motion. I
Correct.
still have to have other council members discuss or comment.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. Right?
All I'm reading is select ad hoc committee to interview candidates to fill 4 vacancies.
Right, and we have to make a motion on those.
That's, yeah, we have to.
We have to make a
select or
motion
not.
on them. Right,
Yeah.
that's the, yes, we select or not.
Yes.
That was the short answer of what Jackie asked, and
Okay.
I had to do a dissertation on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, sorry, Councilmember Sebastian.
My comment is that I still think we should all be interviewing all candidates, and I would also like to be in the committee.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Well, I'm gonna throw my hat in the name, no, my name in the hat too, to be on the ad hoc committee. So we have 4 who wish to be on the selection committee. So do we have a motion to, do we have any comment from Zoom land?
If you'd like to speak on this matter, please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. That will note that you would like to speak. You will be brought into the meeting. When you unmute yourself, your 3-minute time will start. And right now is the time to raise your hand by using that raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. We have no hands raised at this time, Mayor.
Thank you very much. May I please have a motion? A motion to appoint an ad hoc committee to review candidate applications for planning commission. That was a period.
And who are you appointing? And
Oh, yeah,
then,
we do.
yeah, and
Yeah,
also,
okay. Go ahead, sorry.
City Attorney Rathi, just point of clarification of an ad hoc committee cannot consist of any more than a quorum of the governing body. Is that correct?
Correct.
This would be two members. Two
Okay.
members of the body.
Okay, can you please poll the council? To see who will be on?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, that's how we're choosing
I'll make
to.
this a little easier and withdraw.
Who is that?
Mayor Pro Tem Freeman will withdraw.
Okay, so then the remaining three, Councilmember Friels, Mayor Jordan, and Councilmember Sabathia. Is that correct?
So far.
Yes.
Okay,
So we have to select two. That's the bottom line. So then we go back to
Yes.
then we go back to staff and say, we want to discuss a new way of selecting a planning commissioner via interviews from the whole council. Can you put that together for us? And then we go, but we have to, today we just have to select two.
That's question. That's our ordinance already,
Correct.
is
That's
that
the
the
way the
whole
ordinance
council chooses. So this is different than how we currently do it, how it is currently written. Selecting an ad hoc committee is not part of the,
Well, it has been in the past,
Yeah.
just 2 years ago.
It is in the ordinance.
I understand it was like that, but the ordinance states that the whole council, correct?
The ad hoc committee receives the applications and the residents, select qualified candidates for interviews, conduct the interviews, makes a brief report with recommendations to the city council. When the council considers and votes on the recommendation, appoints the applicant or receives a majority of votes to the planning commission. The applicant does not receive a majority of votes, the ad hoc subcommittee shall select a new candidate and present that candidate to the city council at the following meeting.
Okay, so that's a new ordinance.
No, it's not a new, it's
That-
the same.
that's In
What's
our ordinance
the
right
date
now.
on it? I mean,
That's the current ordinance.
The
I'm
current.
gonna- I'm gonna go, I'm gonna make this easy, then I'm just gonna go ahead and step down too. I'm gonna withdraw my name.
Okay. So the council's job now is to select an ad hoc committee to interview candidates to fill 4 vacancies on the planning commission. There are 2 names on it, Sabathia and Jordan. Can I have a motion that Sabathia and Jordan will be the ad hoc committee?
I make a motion that council member Sabathia and Mayor Jordan will be the 2 members selected from the city council to steer the ad hoc committee in selection of future potential candidates for the planning commission.
Can I have a second, please?
I will second if I'm allowed to.
You absolutely are allowed to. Okay, a motion made by Morris Lopez. Council member Morris Lopez. And seconded by Council Member Sabathia. Can I have a roll call, please?
yes. Councilmember Friels,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Freeman,
Yes,
Councilmember Morris Lopez,
Yes,
Councilmember Sabathia,
Yes.
Mayor Jordan.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Action item 6B, select check signers for Citibank account.
Members of the city council, now that we have 2 new council members coming on board and 2 new previous members of the council who were signing checks, and that's how it was. We need to appoint 2 new members of the council to help us sign checks and get on with our regular business as usual. So right now, we have John Freeman and Leslie Jordan our official check signers with our bank. And we're looking for 1 or 2 more names in case someone is out of town, so we can get our checks signed.
Councilmember Freels, do you wish to be a check signer?
Yes, I will. I'll do that.
Thank you. Councilmember Morris Lopez,
I'll be an alternate, yes.
thank you. Councilmember Sabathia,
I do not wish to be a check signer.
thank you very much. Can I have a motion to add Councilmember Freels and Councilmember Morris Lopez as check signers?
So moved.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. A motion by Mayor Pro Tem Freeman, seconded by Councilmember Freels. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Freels,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Freeman,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris Lopez,
Yes,
Councilmember Sabathia,
Yes.
Mayor Jordan.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. 6C, discuss the disposition of parklet and direct staff accordingly. City Manager Don Reynolds.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. I'll let Brian Fauch, Assistant City Manager, take the ball on this one.
Sure, Mayor, members of council. This item comes before the city council at the request of the city council during your meeting November 15th. What staff did was we looked at the original impetus for parklets, which was to respond to the emergency declaration issued by the state regarding COVID-19. And what I'd like to do is put the staff report up on the screen just very briefly. And I need to have the host okay my screen sharing. There we go. And so you can see here in the staff report, can everyone see the staff report? It's really not functioning. My screen is frozen now. Okay. There we go. Let me try that again. Okay, here we go. Can everyone see this?
yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. All right, good. So, as the parklets have been allowed via encroachment permits through the Transformation of Third Street program, there have been several extensions, and those are listed in the staff report since they were installed in 2020. And always the discussion has been when the deadlines approach, the subject of permanence has always come up. And then most recently in latest decision by the City Council on Resolution 2022-40 was to allow the parklets to continue until the Third Street Master Plan is under construction. That was a recommendation from the EDCAC through the Planning Commission and to the City Council. There was a little bit different iterations of that recommendation that went through the Planning Commission, but ultimately the City Council did peg the parklet removal to the Third Street Master Plan. Then, of course, the governor's office announced that they were going to remove the state of emergency, ending the emergency on February 28th, which was the original reason that we had the Third Street Transformation Program in place. And even though COVID-19 cases are surging at the present time. It's winter and holidays are here and people are getting together and infection rates are rising. Hospitals are full again with COVID patients. It's not clear whether this surge is going to last through, into the spring. And so the governor's office gave a little bit of extra time to the end of February for things to sort of settle out or to see whether they would settle out. But that begs the question, really, how does the city respond in this situation? And so the options available to the city, that we see are that city council would terminate encroachment permit authorization for all parklets, coincident with the suspension of the governor's office, and the city may wish to assist businesses with small business grants to help defray the cost of removal of the parklets in that scenario. The city could modify, considering the current surge, could modify parklets to remain, the parklet program to remain for certain business types that are unable to implement COVID protocols such as restaurants and bars. The city council could allow all parklets to continue until San Benito County Public Health Officer declares a public health emergency. Only if San Benito County Public Health Officer declares a public health emergency. And then we could simply continue to disallow the replacement of parklets as sort of in an attrition mode for fronting businesses that have relocated or ending until the 3rd Street Master Plan begins construction. This is sort of fourth option, very similar to what's currently the case, where the city manager in a city council resolution was directed not to issue new encroachment permits, and then as those parklets are removed, then there isn't anything to take their place. So as we see it, these are the various options in response to the governor's decision to end the public health emergency in February. There may be others, and so that's why this is a discussion item. But then also we're looking for some direction from the city council regarding how to proceed in the context of the end of the public health emergency that is pending in February. So that is the staff report.
Thank you very much. Question, comments, concerns, Councilmember Friels.
Boy, it's always great going first. Just a couple concerns. Concern of the governor will change his mind. So we go ahead and say, let's tear them down, put Main Street back the way it was, and he changes his mind. That's a concern. We're kind of putting the cart before the horse right now. We really don't know if he's going to follow through with it. And there has been especially in this community and county, we have had a surge. So do we know if the county health department's going to go along with it also? That's a concern. I have a question. So we made a decision, continue with the downtown the way it is until, John, correct me if I'm wrong, until we finish the master plan.
Correct, but there's still quite a bit of time needed to do that, including an RFP and hiring a consultant. So
Yeah, that's understood. So we would be overriding the decision that we made.
it would be changing that decision dramatically. Yeah.
It's a tough one for me because I just see what we did, I think saved this town. I just don't want to make a decision sooner than the state level does. That's my concern. We've seen some flipping and flopping already. So I'm not really in favor of restoring 3rd Street back to the original 3rd Street until we really find out if this thing is over with and done and, we can join the rest of the country. So, thanks.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem Freeman.
Thank you. I have really, like Scott, really mixed feelings on the parklets. I think they saved this town and saved some of the restaurants in it, and it's really hard for me to just say, well, tear them all down and go away. Which they've done in many towns, not only around here, but throughout the Bay Area. I'm gonna try to throw out a third option, which may or may not please anybody, but the parklets reside on city property. When people, private businesses use a piece of property, usually they pay rent. Okay, so certain towns, I believe Livermore and a couple up in Napa Valley are now charging rent for the parklets because you are not stealing, but using city space. And as such, the city needs to be compensated because the city no longer has two-way traffic. It no longer has a lot of things, certain car flows that merchants in the city might actually like because it could bring additional customers to them. So, and like Scott, I also don't want to be flip-flopping back and forth. Personally, I think maybe we should wait until after February to make this decision. So we are absolutely sure what the state of California and the governor are going to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Morris Lopez.
Thank you. For me, I feel that in the inception of why this whole law ordinance came about was specifically for certain types of businesses. And our city loosely interpreted that. And there were parklets allowed to businesses that were not stated as an eating or designated as an eating or bar. And parklets were allowed to go up. Also, with that being said, there are several eating establishments, restaurants in our town that do have patio space and tap rooms and wine rooms that have patio space. So just like Council or Pro Term Mayor Freeman stated, an alternative option for me is to immediately consider the removal of those businesses on 2 points. They were never intended to have a parklet because they were not serving food or beverages. They were retail spaces, and they also had guidelines as how they could let the flow of traffic into their establishments. That was clearly made. Number two, for those eateries and tap rooms that do have outdoor facilities and spaces, and there's a few in town, I believe that those parklets should go away because they do have options. And I think it's very clear cut for me. And those parklets take up valuable parking real estate. And who wouldn't want the ability for a potential customer or customers to pull up and park in front of their establishment and either take food to go, because that's always an option, or wander into their establishment to shop for items according to the guidelines that we have, 6 feet apart, wearing a mask. All of that was clearly stated. And so the parklets take up a valuable real estate. They prohibit parking. And also, if you look at it from a historic point of view or appreciation for the historic buildings, they really, take away that view. We don't see that. We don't appreciate that. So I'd be for really coming up with a third or maybe a fourth. I think there was 4, maybe 5 that staff recommended, to let the restaurants continue with the parklets that don't have the outside dining capability, and the establishments that do take those down and utilize the patio space they have and retail should not have the parklets. They never should have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Spathia.
Going last is awesome. Uh, I do agree with a lot of what Scott says, as far as, the not wanting to flip flop and go back and forth based on a decision that we have no control over. Like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. It's playing with people's businesses, playing with people's emotions who have, a vested interest either way in this decision. I also agree with both, Pro Tem Mayor, Freeman and Councilman Frios that allowing parklets, was a big lifeline to the businesses in town, and the businesses are a big part of town. So I agree. It's not hyperbole. It saved town. As I'm thinking about this, what I think about is, decisions can be made on contingencies. They're made on contingencies all the time. A lot of people buy houses on contingencies. So we could make up our minds about what we'd like to do, given what so if state stays the course, we're gonna do this. If they don't, we do that. We can make those decisions now, so it's not pending, but it's pending contingent on what's gonna happen. So that we can, check that box and knowing and start planning and giving people plenty of time to know what's happening. I also think it's an important point to make, the staff report listed a possibility of offsetting some of the costs of removal and materials, for those. I think that would be a huge help to the businesses, especially if they're gonna go away, at least, making that pill a little less bitter to swallow.
Thank you very much. And I get to go last, so I don't have to say a thing because y'all said it all. I do like the help defray the cost of removal. If anybody wants to get rid of their wood, I'd be more than happy to take it. And we did. We not only survived COVID, we thrived COVID. In a way that a lot of communities didn't. We immediately went outside, and going outside for everybody saved our city. It saved all the businesses, and that was huge. I think they have definitely served the purpose that they were intended for right from the very beginning. I think that was an amazing decision by the council to allow this to happen. Staff allowed certain leeway for this to occur. We as a city did give up encroachment rights, which now reduces parking within the city, which doesn't help Third Street businesses because there's no parking or very limited parking. I like what Councilmember Sabathia said about making a decision now, but basing it on or having it contingent on what happens on the 28th. We have had a surge, and it has affected us deeply in this city. I'm sure other cities are experiencing the same thing, and for the governor to say 3 or 4 months ago that we're going to end COVID on the 28th of February without knowing what's going to happen is, I don't know, like everything else that happened during COVID, it was a knee-jerk reaction to something. Put them up, take them down, do this, don't do that. But again, without having a crystal ball and the governor not knowing what to do, gave us some options that we weren't all thrilled with. Encroachment fees for those that are maintained is, I think, a good idea. Now that they are surviving and somewhat thriving, to add that on. So I everything that the council said was really thought out and well said, and I appreciate all the comments. So do we have any comments from folks on Zoom land?
Thank you, Mayor. If anyone would like to speak, please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. You'll be brought into the meeting and 3-minute timer will start when you unmute yourself. Again, right now is the time that if you'd like to speak, to use your raise hand button. We have the first person coming in. David, when you unmute yourself, I'll start your 3-minute timer.
Yeah,
Thank you.
can you hear me?
Thank you very much, David. We can hear you.
Yeah, it seemed like I'm the only public tonight. But maybe there'll be another one besides me. But anyway, that being said, I kind of go along with everybody. With the exception that we got to remember that these are temporary units that are out there. And we've got to also establish the fact that we have the historical integrity of the town to recall, think about before we do anything that might even think of being permanent. So that's basically where I'm going with that. But who should have a parklet? Should it be temporary or otherwise, whether we have emergencies or not, determines on the economic feasibility of everything that we need to do to keep business open as best we can. And whatever we have to change in the parklets system itself, to preserve the integrity of our town, we just have to deal with it when the time comes up. So I'm kind of going along with everybody. I think we've got all the good ideas that we need to do, but I think we need to continue with the parklets as best they can serve us to do whatever we have to go forward with when it comes with the economic structure of our city and its community. If it serves us well and somehow improves, if not, benefits the integrity of our city, let's keep doing it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We do not have any other hands raised at this time.
Thank you. Chambers? Nothing in chambers. Thank you very much. Okay, direct staff. I'm gonna kind of go all over on this with what everybody said. Councilmember Sabathia talked about a contingency and Councilmember Freeman said, wait until it ends. So if we do a contingency, if it ends in February 28th, we can move forward instead of waiting later. For those that remain, we have an encroachment fee, a permit fee to take up that space where parking is not, and where they're taking up city property. Remove retail and keep eateries, whether that looks like somebody who already has a patio in the back. And what else did we have?
If I could add, as long as we don't,
Yeah, go ahead.
as long as we don't discontinue moving forward with the Third Street plan.
Wait, say that one more time.
As long as we
No,
don't
oh,
dismiss it,
yes,
yeah,
no,
but
we're moving forward with the Third Street
we
master
still want to
plan.
move, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. So did I sum that up? Everybody okay with that?
And a little bit, we can come back at our mid-year budget and recommend a little bit of.
Oh, I'm sorry, compensation. Yes. Thank you for that.
But we would be removing all retail when the state of emergency ends. Is that a consensus?
Yes.
Yes. So we'll bring back a resolution then.
Got it.
Are we good?
Are we good? You have them all? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Discussion items.
Before we move on,
Go ahead. Yep.
Can we take a 10-minute?
Yes, absolutely.
Brian, you're muted. I don't know if you're trying to speak.
we are
I think
taking a
Brian
10-minute.
was saying that it was hard to hear your summary, Don, what you were
okay.
saying.
I took good
Yeah, I
notes.
didn't hear you.
I took good notes.
So what we are recommending to, or having staff write up is to bring a motion back next month with, sorry, to bring back an ordinance next month, a resolution, thank you, to remove parklets as a contingency plan if the governor actually ends COVID on February 28th. So we'll have this in place if this all happens. One is to initiate encroachment permits for those that remain. Two is to remove retail. And three is to help defray the cost of removal. Got it? Do you have a question, Brian?
That's all supposed to come back in in an ordinance,
And a
the way you've
resolution.
just described in a resolution, next month, all of that.
Yes.
Okay.
There's only 3 items.
That's fine.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
And we have a 10-minute break. All right, we're all back. No. All right, discussion items, noise ordinance. City manager.
I've had a lot of conversations. This was originally brought to the council by Councilmember Edge. And I understand why. We've got a few businesses, facility rentals and so forth with either live music on patios and whatnot, and it's been exceptionally loud. And so Bob responded to Councilmember Edge's request and drafted a noise ordinance. There's different ways to do it, and I think Bob's prepared tonight to talk about different ways to measure noise subjectively and objectively, and what his ordinance recommends moving forward.
I can do that. Yes, thank you, Doc. Yeah, right now, the city municipal code does address noise in several areas, but there's no specific overarching noise ordinance that governs noise in the city. And so the first question, I guess, is, does the council want such an ordinance? And if that's true, then there's different ways to bring the noise ordinance back or to govern noise. And really, it breaks down to whether you want decibel levels in the ordinance or to dispense with decibel levels and use a more subjective way of determining excessive or disruptive noise in the city. I think most cities now are using decibel levels, so I was kind of surprised that initially I was directed to bring back an ordinance that didn't have these levels in it. And so that's what I did. That's the ordinance that's attached. It's not proposed that you adopt that ordinance. It's really just a vehicle to stimulate a discussion. I think one of the things that we'd want is what's the process that the council would want to bring a noise ordinance back. You want to give staff and myself some parameters of what you'd like to see, and then we can look at other noise ordinance and see if we can cobble together something. One of the things that the council might want to consider now in this draft ordinance and in the staff report, it lists most of the times that certain noise would be allowed and other times when it would be in violation of the municipal code. The other thing would be the ordinance would be enforced through administrative penalties, which right now are, I believe, 100, 250, and 500. 50, 100, and 500 for additional violations, a little bit lower. That would be in 1 year. And the question would be, is that sufficient, or would you want to increase the penalties for noise? The other issue, I believe, would be the role of the planning commission. I believe that there was an ordinance previously vetted through the planning commission several years ago. I think it might have been in 2016. And that was apparently never brought to the council for adoption because, as I said, there is no standalone noise ordinance in the city. The difference between using decibel levels and not using them is really sort of the difference between objective and subjective conditions, and subjective conditions can often lead to inconsistent subjective enforcement. So those are just some of the questions that occur to me in context of this noise ordinance. So we're just sort of looking for direction from the council. How you want us to handle this? Do you want us to bring back an ordinance at some point? And what's the process for doing that? What are some of the parameters that you'd really like to see in a noise ordinance?
Wow. Councilmember Friels.
Scribbled a couple notes. I completely agree with what Bob said about the subjectiveness. There needs to be a baseline, and that's how we measure it, is noise levels or decibels. A good way for us to probably make decisions on decibel levels is some examples, of decibels in vehicles or generators or music or whatever. I can say that, and I know where Mary's coming from because I'm only a block over from her, and it gets insanely loud sometimes. And I have to say, we, the communities, the city of San Juan Bautista, in my neighborhood, is the number 2 violated because we allow the music so loud in the community center that a lot of it doesn't leave the community center, but it's extremely loud. Across the street at Casa Maria, because they do stuff out on the back patio, you can hear that stuff, almost all the way down to EJ's house. It's pretty loud. And close the windows, it doesn't bother me too much, but the folks that live right next to them, it must be unbearable. And that's why I would think get a baseline, right? Find out, okay, a rock band, how loud are they? A generator, how loud are they? A top fuel dragster, how loud is it? Things like that. Then we can go from there. Because it is subjective. I mean, one person may think that my pickup is insanely loud, and I'm like, no, it's not. So it's subjective. So I think that's what we have to do, work on a baseline. I am in favor, because I have had some phone calls too. I've got, hey, does that music have to be really that loud? And some of the people are like, I love the music, but it's 9:30. And we had so many people last month or so, man, that cold went through my neighborhood. It seemed like that nasty
RSV.
that respiratory thing ran everywhere. And it's if you're a block away from you're not sleeping through that. So I guess just we kind of lost some common courtesy, and I can tell this in the corner of First in San Jose. We lost a little common courtesy for the neighborhood, because it's pretty loud. But that's what I would hope is Bob, I guess my only guidance is we got to figure out what's ridiculous loud and what's acceptable loud, right? Yeah.
We can start with some sort of information on what activities generate what level of decibels.
Yeah.
And then regulate down from there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Freeman.
Thank you. I basically agree with Scott. And thinking back to what Mary, Councilperson Edge, brought up, I was at home that night at the community center, at Casa Maria, when they had that very loud music on the patio or back area there that's open. And I live about a block south of Scott and Mary and such. And it affected my house just as much. And we've always heard the community center, and it varies widely as to the band they hire, literally, you know, and if the windows are open or not, you know, I think because we have a 10 o'clock hard cutoff date and we also require security at the community center, that goes a little better, but I remember the Casa Maria one went past 10 o'clock and it was much louder than the community center. And I heard about it from almost all my neighbors, you know. I fielded at least 7 or 8 complaints. That's, you know, I do think we need an objective noise ordinance.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Morris Lopez.
Yes, thank you. Yes, we need a decibel meter. We can't go by subjective noise level assessment because that's just determinant on the individual's perception of maybe even the type of music or noise. So we need just a pure tone decibel level reading. But I also think this needs to be discussed thoroughly at the Planning Commission level, because one of the things that I was thinking about how this is also affected is we also have ordinances and zoning areas called, zoning areas called mixed use, where there might be businesses allowed in a residential area. And so you have to also look at what's that footprint that business is bringing into that residential area, you know, along with the extra parking and activity. Some of the businesses can also be hinging more on light industrial, and with that comes noise. And so I think you have to look at our zoning areas as well, get a good overall, you know, perspective on what the noises are that are being produced and in what zones and what areas. And I'm just curious as to, I know we're giving our personal feedback. Sometimes I hear stuff from Hardinas, but I have to say, honestly, where I'm at right now on Mission Street behind Vertigo, I don't hear a lot of noise. And even Vertigo has sometimes DJs, and I can only hear them if I go in my backyard and I actually gets my feet tapping. So it's pretty nice. But I guess what is the community for me as a city council member, aside from our personal stories, you know, what's the community saying? And then lastly, if you are pointing out, it sounds like these rental halls and venues, do they themselves have rules and regulations? And should the city maybe not hold them to the fire to enforce those rules and regulations? Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Sabathian.
My feelings on the matter are that we absolutely need some sort of enforceable noise ordinance. So I'd love to see something drafted. I feel very strongly that it cannot have any subjective metric, none at all, because like Councilmember Morris Lopez said, your tolerance for a certain decibel, even if it is the same decibel level, could change depending on if you like the music. I'm okay with Banda until midnight, but if it's heavy metal, I'm gonna be a lot more irritated. That's just my personal proclivity. So it's gotta be objective metrics. And with the decibel level, the way the decibels work is it's gotta be X decibels at X number of feet, type of deal. So that you're at the proper distance. You can't be next to the drummer measuring the decibels. So we gotta do that. And I think we could lean heavily on, you know, there have to be cities everywhere that have these ordinances to see what's making sense, so we can look and see what's codified for similar municipalities, and have that as a starting point, and have some of the things like Scott was saying, and this is how loud, you know, Councilmember Friel's truck is when he's got it pegged and all those types of things. But yes, absolutely having it, and then there's a difference between you know, kind of like not just the decibels, but the time of day. So when can you start, when can you end? And then having some regulation about day of the week, you know, Friday night, Saturday night is way different than Sunday night, and through the rest of the week. And so maybe there's some differentiation there. It might be a good way to come through some compromise. I also know that even if something, we have these rules and we are enforcing them properly, even if it's something that's irritating you, if people know that it's enforced and that people are gonna follow it, there's some solace that can be leaned on of knowing, hey, there's only 15 more minutes, there's only 20 more minutes. So giving people that sort of peace of mind and having that regulation so that we can stick to it would be great.
Agreed. Places like Casa Maria, do we know if they have any? They can go to whenever, as long as the people pay for the facility?
No, no, the rules are clear, and I spoke with Councilmember Edge about this because she at one time was responsible for renting that facility, working for the mission. And she's the one that pointed out that they're not to be disturbing the neighborhood and that they need to enforce their own lease agreement. But no, it's always been 10 o'clock. The people who use that facility should know that. And they do have a comment from the public community.
Thank you. Do we have recourse then?
We have called the sheriff there more than once. There's been tailgate parties that have lasted in the parking lot past 10 p.m. And when we can get the sheriff to respond, we get a good response. I'm not sure what the role of their security company is or who they're using for security. So I think that's another thing we need to talk to them about. I brought this to the attention of Jewel Gentry. He's our representative. He works out of the little store there. And he's been a great liaison, so he's aware of our concerns and he's interested in our feedback.
Nice, very cool. Thank you very much. The only addition I would ask is looking at the times of day that either construction or parties or rentals like Hardeen's or the community center or Casa Maria have their events. For construction, especially if it's in within the city limits where it's residential, to shorten those windows. Instead of 6 or 7, go to 7 or 8. Folks who work all week long don't want to hear construction noise at 6 a.m. in the morning when that's when their prime sleeping time. So I would ask that we look at those times as well. Sorry to anybody who is in construction in the audience.
I think we do have, we definitely have one for construction.
The building permit itself references it.
Yeah, it says 7 o'clock in the morning and 6 a.m. in the morning. So I'm just asking to, if
6 a.m.
if we're
It's
gonna
later on Saturday, Sunday.
revisit
It
those.
starts at like 8 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of those that early because of how hot it gets during the day.
Yeah.
People Take off at 2.
Yep, totally understand. But when they're throwing slate tile from their roof into a metal bin.
Yeah.
And it resonates, it's
I wonder where that happens.
kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Kind of awesome.
I'm, just on a side note, as we're talking about noise ordinance, I just think about in the 80s, the rock band Kiss had t-shirts. that said,
Yeah.
If it's too loud, you're too old. And I'm just thinking about that going, oh man, I'm complaining about noise.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
I'm there.
And one of my comments is we have an aged community and I don't know. Turn our hearing aids off. I don't have them yet. But if you will please read any public comment we have done.
Well, yeah, Councilmember Edge did get a comment from a neighbor, Judy Kane, and they live on First Street, very close to Casa Maria. And Ms. Kane wrote to Mary 12:09:56 a.m. today. It's come to our attention that the San Juan Bautista City Council will be discussing a noise ordinance at their meeting on Tuesday, December 20th. My husband Larry and I have experienced multiple times of noise so loud that it vibrates our windows and back door. The very annoying sounds are associated with music and especially the bass instruments that just boom, boom, boom. Most of the time it is a nonstop for hours and I can't express in words the way it affects my husband. Unfortunately, most of the time, the sound is coming from the Casa Maria. It happens when the event is outside. I love music, but that is not the sound that we hear. I don't like to complain, but when you can't hear your television or each other, it's too much. Thank you for your attention to this matter, Larry and Judy King.
Thank you very much. Do we have any public comment from Zoom?
If anyone would like to testify on this matter, please raise your hand by pressing the raise hand button at the bottom of the screen. I see no hands raised at this time, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments, concerns from chambers? Thank you very much. Discussion item 7B, authorize staff to post notice accepting applications for city treasurer appointment.
Thank you, members of City Council. It was staff's interpretation at the November meeting that with the approval of the measure concerning elected treasurer to becoming appointed treasurer, that it was the consensus of the council at the November meeting that this would be a general appointment, that we would solicit applications that residents of our city who are qualified to be city treasurer, some kind of finance or accounting background, and wanted to help the city as a third eye be appointed, that we would move forward and accept applications like we do for our commissioners now, and have the councils consider the applicants and appoint accordingly. So with that, we're coming back to confirm that's the direction of our new city council. They're okay with that, and that we can open this up for application.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Frails.
I'm okay with it.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Freeman.
I also am okay with it.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Morris Lopez.
Yes, I say go ahead.
Thank you. Councilmember Sabathia.
Make it so.
That's 5. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's very clear feedback. Not bad for 9:30. Okay, and then the next item is a similar confirmation of the city clerk status. I believe that the consensus was that the city attorney would come back with an ordinance authorizing the city manager to appoint this position. We would recruit for the best qualified city clerk we could find, or promote the deputy city clerk to city clerk position if so qualified. But that would serve, did not have to be a resident in the community, and would serve as an employee as appointed by the city manager. And if that's correct interpretation and we're okay with that, then we'll move forward.
Councilmember Freels.
Sounds good to me.
Mayor Pro Tem Freeman.
I agree.
Councilmember Morris Lopez.
Yes, agree.
Thank you. Councilmember Sabathia.
I agree.
Agree.
Okay, I'll go for 3 here. I've already mentioned the calendar when we spoke earlier on the agenda, so I just circling back. So there's some important dates. Our next meeting would be January 24th, unless we have a special meeting. And that the city offices will be closed next week. That's about all I had to say about the city calendar in item D. Any questions or concerns?
Thank you very much, Councilmember Freels.
No questions, thank
Mayor Pro Tem Freeman.
No question. Sounds good to me.
Councilmember Morris Lopez.
No comments or concerns.
Thank you. Councilmember Sabathia.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Me as well, and I apologize. Is there any public comment for B, C, and D?
If anyone would like to speak on the matter of items 7, is that yes, 7, B, C, or D, please raise your hand now. Or forever hold your peace. No, I'm kidding. Raise your hand by hitting the raise hand button at the bottom of the screen. We have no hands raised at this time here.
Thank you very much. Use of community hall for local seniors.
This is a request by Councilmember Edge. Because she's had mixed results working, partnering with the current nonprofit that's serving the Meals on Wheels, the Jóvenes de Antonio. If I said that right?
You did well.
And so she will probably recommend that committee move forward and start to form a nonprofit unique to San Juan Bautista so that they can be independent. But right now they're in limbo because she's trying to start her programs. She's had several successful classes. Unfortunately, because of the COVID outbreak in our community, has canceled her holiday bazaar. But I think in the future, it's just asking, we have a policy now of renting our facility to nonprofits for the cost of electricity and janitorial, and she's not a nonprofit. And I think, Mayor, you mentioned to me that perhaps the San Juan committee or a local group would be willing to help her with the insurance for use of the hall. And so with that, I promised Mary I'd put this on the agenda for the council just to understand that they're kind of in limbo right now, but they want to keep moving forward.
Correct. And if I can add a few more things, right now, events have been happening at several locations. The community hall, the library. The daughters have offered their facility. And yes, still working with Jóvenes de Antonio and a couple of other agencies. But without an MOU, we can't continue to fall under Jóvenes de Antonio. So until such time that happens, or that the seniors program for San Juan Bautista becomes a nonprofit in and of itself, Mary Edge is asking for the use of the community hall. For Jóvenes de Antonio, they did not do a stipend for the use. Don, do you recall? I mean, this has all been years ago because of COVID. It hasn't been used in a long time.
Well, and even longer ago than that, Trish, our retired deputy city clerk, remembers the council approving a policy where we would take in like a $400 deposit and then deduct the costs of maintaining the building. And then when the $400 went away after 2 or 3 uses, we would ask for another deposit. But I don't think the city ever followed through and billed and administered that policy. So it was conceived but not implemented.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, questions, comments, concerns? If you're okay, Councilmember Friels.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and Donna and I talked about this the other day. We do have a next year we have the I wouldn't say Parks and Rec, but activity. What are we calling them? The rec coordinator.
Rec coordinator starting to develop our rec program.
So maybe we can just turn this into our own program, and we don't have to worry about insuring. They'll fall under our
Self-insurance. Yeah.
fall into us.
Mhm.
Because we did, it was used. I remember as a kid, it was used as a senior center. So,
Right.
And it fell under San Juan. So I don't know what happened to that.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I mean, if that's something we can do without relying on somebody, then in my opinion, that'd be better. I mean, it may cost us a few more, but it is what it is.
Right.
But yeah, let's definitely.
And there is a whole calendar out for events that they have planned throughout the entire next year.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's a full calendar. Sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Freeman.
Thank you. Just following up on what Scott said, I remember before COVID, I think it was every Thursday, they had a luncheon that was actually served by Meals on Wheels and such, and then they had a couple hours afterwards where they do various activities, play games, talk, whatever. And I always thought it was, I didn't ask, I wasn't a senior at that time, I am now. I always thought it was free. I mean, I just thought they just appeared there at 11 o'clock on Thursdays and that was it, you know, and so like everyone else, I don't really know what happened other than COVID killed it. And I'm glad that Mary's picking it back up and making it even better. And so, yeah.
Thank you. Joven San Antonio did do Meals on Wheels. And it is free to all the seniors, and they have talked about bringing that back. The group as a nonprofit or even under, until there's an MOU, San Juan cannot serve meals because there's a whole seniors program, no salt, or gotta be diet restricted and all of that. So Jóvenes de Antaño, as soon as they start up again with the Meals on Wheels, we'll be providing that also. Council Member Morris Lopez.
Yes, I think it's a great idea. And just like Scott and John, I do recall that place being a location where the seniors did meet. And it's great because it has the ramp, so it's ADA. It has bathrooms. It's a nice area. And I think the seniors need, you know, when you get to be that age, I think kind of moving the venue around becomes difficult. So if they have a stable place where they know they're going to meet in the interim for right now, I think that's a good idea. And it's a community hall. It's their community. So why not?
Thank you very much. Luna Gallery was the other place that the seniors met. Sorry, Councilmember Sabathia.
I am all in favor of this being a self-sufficient city program. Something that is in service to this community, and whatever the logistics are, we should figure out how to most efficiently move through all that to make it permanent and sustainable.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on.
One more.
Go
thing
ahead.
before- Sorry, I don't mean to drag it out. but-
No. Right.
Another thing too is if we do have somewhat of a self-sustained city entity, you know, it's also could be a warming center in the winter if we have power failures. Could be, I mean, we can figure out some way to cool the place. It could be a cooling center. I mean, that way, just like Jackie said, they, you know, our seniors would know where to go. You know, even just going to charge their cell phones. I mean, they know there'll be somebody there. And, you know, and we now have somebody coming in and we'll have somebody, which is great. A lot of communities are building these, they call them resilience centers. Tuolumne County just got 2 of them. Because nobody else in the state really asked for them. So Tuolumne County got 2 of them. And that's what they do for it. You know, it's a community center. It's a new modern name for it, but
What's the name again?
Resilience Center.
And there's government.
It was, yeah, well.
I feel a grant writer coming
Well,
on.
it was back during the Obama administration when it was thrown out there, but apparently a lot of counties in the state of California didn't either know about it or didn't want it, and Tuolumne County got 2 of them on both ends of their county. So
Small county too.
Tuolumne County's pretty good size. It stretches all the way.
Small in population.
Small population, yeah.
It's huge in area, yeah.
Big senior population. Beautiful homes. I mean, beautiful structures. You know, so yeah, let's go for it. It's a great idea.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments, concerns from Zoom?
We do have a hand raised, and in the meantime, if anyone else would like to speak on this matter, please raise your hand now by pressing that raise hand button. And I am bringing in the first caller. If you'll unmute yourself, your 3-minute time will start.
Welcome, Teresa.
Hi, just a quick comment. What you guys are saying about the community center. Just curious of what is the status for taking care of the level there and the work that's planned there.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. The acoustics. City Manager Reynolds.
So, thank you for asking that question. We do have it budgeted and we do have a project manager assigned to it. We also retain the services of a of the engineering firm to help us find contractors. We received a product quote from a company by the name of Armstrong that recommends their products to reduce the rebound of music, there's a term for it, by 70%. And we're having a conference call tomorrow. And hopefully after the conference call at 10 a.m. tomorrow, Carl will be able to finish his request for proposals and get it out to bid. So I hope to get it out to bid in January and hopefully begin some changes as early as the end of February.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions?
We have no other hands raised at this time.
Thank you very much. Chambers, thank you. Motion to adjourn.
A motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Thank you very much. A motion by Councilmember Sabathia, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Freeman. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Freels,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Freeman. I'm
Yes,
sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Freeman. Thank you. Councilmember Morris Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Sabathia,
Yes.
Mayor Jordan.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Safe Christmas and New Year's, everyone. Thank you all very much.
Hang in there, Jackie.
Thank you, everybody. Stay
Stay
safe,
well.
stay well. Bye-bye. Happy New Year.
Please note for the record, the meeting has adjourned at 9:42 p.m.